Why are there so many songs about rainbows and what's? Very good question, Kermit. Anyway, good morning, everybody. Today is going to be some pure... Hey, love! Aim! Hello? Aim! Can you bring George in? He's howling a bit. Nice. All right. We just had everything set up for the stream, and then I just hear George like, let me inside!
I'll take off this chain collar.
Thank you very much. So today is going to be pure, unadulterated gravy. And I'm going to be mellow because I have to be. My family's in the house, so you won't hear any cuss words. Today is family friendly. There'll be no cussing. Yesterday, the trash in me really came out. The upstate New York language was in full effect today. It will be not like that. Anyway, the name of this episode is The Devil is in the Details. The Big Lie. This one will be hard to wrap the mind around, but it'll be fun. So just get ready. Strap in, because we have to do this. And I'll tell you why we have to do this. As some may know, Justin Trudeau won the Canadian election last night. No one cares. I don't know how else to tell Canada this, but nobody cares at all. You take off that little jingly thing too. Thanks. It's all right, George. Canada is a joke. It's an international joke. And there's some great people up there, and God bless the great people of Canada. The geographical region called Canada. The bizarre little maple syrup, sticky-handed nonsense land. But the despair people are showing, nobody cares. Like when it's like, the Canadian people are under a spell. Yeah, you are, obviously. But you're not doing anything to help yourself, so nobody cares. Fixed election to push home. No, I predicted Trudeau was going to win. Of course he was going to win. I mean, it's just... Anyway... But as I see the world these days and how many people don't seem to understand why everything is, I'll give you a hint, spinning out of control. Oh, I hurt my finger. I will explain it to you right now. Okay, like a bunch of bears were sending me stuff about math. The Seattle school, and by the way, this is all real. Was it Joy Bear or one of the, I think a teacher bear, sent me all the curriculum for the current public education in near Seattle. The Seattle School District is planning to infuse all K through 12 math classes with ethnic studies questions that encourage students to explain how math has been appropriated by Western culture and used in systems of power and oppression. Okay, everyone knows that's nonsense. The joke here obviously would be if someone had two bikes, but we all know this is upside down. We all know that math and skin color have nothing to do with each other. It's a category error. That's madness. But when you're ready to stop just complaining about madness, George, come here. Hey, the bone is very loud. And actually do something to rewrite your brain, you're going to have to admit some uncomfortable realities. And until you do, there's no way out. You're just in an upside down world. 1 second, guys. Hi, George. We're going to take that. We're going to take that. We're going to put it here until after I'm done streaming. Like, for example, this just happened yesterday. Breaking news. Jury rules against dad trying to save his 7-year-old from gender transition. Of course, that would homeschool your kids, A. B, it has to do with the wife, blah, 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 blah. But the reason I stay so calm, relatively, I know I get fired up, but that's just my personality. This stuff doesn't affect me anymore, is because I know the reason and I know who's not helping. I had a pretty major realization about the way the world works because of Steven Crowder. Steven Crowder, I thought, was facing tough reality, speaking truth to power, saying things because he said abortion was wrong and evolution is a scam and stuff that I had never heard someone say out loud in the public arena, and it was music to my ears. But then as time went on, I realized he served the master of lies. And I know that sounds hyperbolic, but it's absolutely true. And I'll tell you why. Because I have been fighting against this for years now. I sacrificed my career in Hollywood for it. And for those of you that want to ankle bite and say, oh, it's a fact. I was repped at CAA. And as soon as I stood up against this exact movement, my agent, I can post the emails, said that because of my views on this, I could no longer be repped by CAA. And then my manager, Principato Young, did the same thing. This is all documented. This means a tremendous amount to me, and I've sacrificed a lot for it. So when Steven Crowder acted like he wanted to actually fight back, I believed him and I supported him, and I was one of his guys. And then we hit a wall. And I'll tell you what the wall was. The wall was I found out who exactly makes all the hormones for child transitions. Teva Pharmaceutical Industries. Jerusalem, Israel. Teva, this is from 2000. This is just a random thing I just grabbed. Teva Pharmaceutical announced today that they will be marketed exclusively in the U.S. biotech, general, blah, 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 human growth hormone. Long story short, Teva Pharmaceuticals has a monopoly on transitional child hormones in America. They are an Israeli company, and it's now illegal to boycott them because of the policies pushed by Zionists like Ted Cruz and all these people in Texas, Florida, stuff like that. So this is the reality. This financial interest out of Israel is pushing this. And so I found this and I was like, we can really do it, make a difference. And that's when Steven Crowder went silent. And then I knew who his master was. His master was Israel. His master was the father of lies. I'm not saying Israel's the father of lies, but he serves deception, because at no point did he actually want to save this beautiful young boy from entering a world of hell where he will probably kill himself by the time he's 30. The odds are that little boy will have put a gun in his mouth and ended his life by the time he's 30 because of the poison that these people make and push on people. The opioid crisis was created and pushed by the Sackler family, another Jewish Zionist family. They have a complete monopoly over Oxy. There is no competitors to these people. And so when I discovered that and revealed it, Crowder went silent. That's when I knew he wasn't a truth teller and he had a master of lies. And today he said, I've come across some information that I have to release publicly later today. This isn't my strong suit. I'm not a newsbreaker. I'm a comedian. Okay. But this fell into my lap. I'll keep you posted. Obviously, the joke I said was that he was going to finally reveal that he's a homosexual. But he won't reveal anything important. It'll probably be just nonsense LARPing about a political system that doesn't matter. And when you're in this world, let me explain it to you in a metaphor that you might understand. When I'm the other little boy that was being paraded around at trans bars, God only knows. And God bless those children because they're not in a very good position. Anyway, so what was I just talking about? I had a train of thought that I was talking about. Anyone remember? I'm going to look in the chat. What if Crowder is compromised? Of course he is. It's not a gay blackmail video. It's greed. Chapu face fell on his lap. Can someone remind me what I was just talking about? Because it's I want to keep that train of thought. Crowder, yeah, my prediction is Crowder's big news has something to do with the never-ending YouTube stuff. It doesn't matter. It's all nonsense. Oh, LARPing? Pharmacy? I don't know. All I know is that it's LARPing. They're not actually trying to solve any of the issues they're talking about. And here's the metaphor. I was from a family with a big secret in it that no one would face. I faced it over a decade before anyone else in my family. It's one of the reasons why it's hurting me less, and I know how to handle it. And it's actually helped align my logic and spirit and or soul, whatever. I have to focus on the right words. Spirit sounds odd, but anyway, when people only look at the results, like math becoming black, or a dad not being able to stop a mom from destroying their boy because of nonsense. It's as if everyone's in a family and they have a pet dog, and everyone just keeps complaining about the behavior of the pet dog. Everyone's like, the dog just ate my shoes. The dog just attacked the mailman. What kind of dog attacks a man? And then there's just me in the corner like, it's a bobcat. We don't even have a dog. And everyone's like, the dog. Back in my day when I was a kid, we had dogs, and a dog would just play fetch with you. This dog is it just attacked the babysitter, and now we have to, because no one will address that this dog behaved. I'm like, it's a bobcat. It's never been a dog. And so why do we have to attack the big lies? Because when you're under a spell, like Canada's under a spell, Germany's under a spell, America's under, when you see these spells that someone can send their child to a school that teaches that math, 2 + 2 = 4, 12 times 12 is 144, that has anything to do with the skin color of the people doing the math, is so mind-blowingly crazy that they have to be under a spell. What is the spell? And the deeper the spell goes, like the spell in my family was that my father was a closet homosexual. No one would admit it. He'd be like telling these flamboyant jokes at my football games and be like, oh, Owen got a sack. Was it a hefty bag? Like flaming. And no one would address it. We just kept making excuses, and like he'd disappear on long walks and money would go disappear and all this stuff. And he was always ranting and raving about the Republicans. You know, he was a homosexual. And so the longer you go without just saying, I have a theory that could make all of this make sense. And people are like, no, your dad is just flamboyant. He's a wonderful man. And then you cover it by way over the top saying, he's a wonderful man. How dare you attack your father? I'm like, he's stealing money from my mom and paying men for sex. It's like, doesn't that make everything make sense? And then you see how many people are in the business of not making things make sense, where they either won't face it, they'll use become morally subjective, where it's like, well, we all have problems. It's like, not like that. That dude's a gay guy. And so I've learned that the bigger the secret, the more it has control over you. Like when you have something big that has been deceived, you can't function. You're always stressed. You're always depressed. It's just, and when you face it, that goes away. And as you can see, it's provable that I'm not a charlatan or a grifter or a liar or deluded or any of that stuff. I've been pretty open about my life now for years with you guys, and you can watch my family grow and prosper and the joy we have and the amount of creativity we have in this community. It's provable. So when I say you can get over it, like I got over some my career was taken from me. My father was a closet homosexual who stole my mother's money. Some of my best friends betrayed me. I've experienced other stuff that I'm not even going to get into. And I'm fine. Why? Because the truth will set you free. If you face that you have a bobcat in your house and it was never a dog, you can get rid of the bobcat in about 5 seconds. If you pretend it's a dog and you just don't know why your family dog has been so unruly, you'll never figure it out. And so one thing I really, really hope for you, and I pray for you, is that you don't get scared. Because I'm about to start talking about some real stuff. If you just run away, again, you don't have to agree with me, but just hear me out. If you run away because you don't want to have to face the truth, because once you see it, you can't unsee it, and then you become this shamed pariah, you're putting yourself, like you're in a prison with a door that opens and you just won't open the door. Women do that. All right, so let's get into it. Okay, so how do you view the world? I'll tell you how you view the world. It's called the Blue Marble. It's a painting. How do I know that? NASA finally admitted it because the technology has outpaced their lies. And again, a lot of us know NASA lies, but we're going to really get into this today. We're going to go places where it's going to be uncomfortable. But when you see it, you'll start understanding why the world is so twisted. Literally. It's bent. Literally. And when you bend all of your reality, it affects all of it. There's a reason why little boys are becoming little girls. Nonsense, obviously, and math is now about skin color. It's all related to the big lie. Just hear me out. And I know that you have an inkling of just being like, oh, how dare you? This is a moment right now where you can make a decision. You either just keep going with us or just, I love you either way. There's people in my family right now that still won't admit my dad is a raging homosexual liar thief. It's not going to hurt me. It hurts them. So just, please. Okay. Technology outpaced the lie. There's a lot of people that think these liars have a much better control of their lies than they do. That this has all been a plan, that seeing the Photoshops and all that has all been a plan by NASA to keep us in an even infinite dungeon. No, that isn't the nature of the lie. There's two masters that you can choose. There's God the Father, the God, our creator, and then there's the father of lies, the devil. That's it. You accept your deceptions or you don't. You're never going to know God's knowledge. You're never going to have that true, clear truth because we see through a glass darkly. That's a fact. But do you accept the deception or do you not? Do you listen to the whisper of the father of lies or do you not? That's it. Everybody has a master. Choose wisely. So when Photoshop, people didn't understand the weaponized autists and all these young men that were not getting families because of the feminist movement and all these other nonsense lies that destroyed the ability for a lot of Delta males and a lot of other males to have a family, to have a lot of time on their hands. And so a lot of young men sat around and disproved this exact image to the point where NASA had to admit it. This is all an artist's rendition. That is not a picture, and that has been drilled into your brain. The last picture that was ever taken of the Earth, allegedly, obviously not true, was during the Apollo missions in the early 70s. This was made in the 2000s. So for 43 years, I believe it was, 43 years, there was not a single picture taken of the Earth and shown to the people. This is not conspiracy theory. This is real. Look it up with NASA. Look it up with any place where you can find mainstream information. For 2 generations of alleged satellites and space missions and all this stuff, no one turned the camera on the Earth and took a picture. Then came Blue Marble. Blue Marble came out and they put it on the screen of every iPhone to cement the worldview of the population, right? People figured out it wasn't true because there's Photoshop all over it. Those clouds are drawn in. So it became a thing. And so NASA had to admit it, but they did it in the spin way of the liars. So this is from NASA.gov. I just got this today. They're doing an interview with the artist. It's not a photograph. That's an image. There's a difference. Words have meaning. Okay. Rito Stocki, now at the Swiss Federal. Okay, the hard part was creating a flat map of the Earth's surface with 4 months of satellite data. Yeah, I'm sure it was. Then he wrapped the flat map around a ball. My part was integrating the surface clouds and ocean to match people's expectations of how Earth looks from space. He's telling you straight up what they do. He's not showing you what Earth looks like from space. He's trying to match your expectation of what Earth looks like from space. The ball became the famous Blue Marble. I was happy with it, but I had no idea how widespread it would become. We never thought it would become an icon. I certainly never thought I would be Mr. Blue Marble. We have since updated the base maps by increasing the resolution, and for 2004, we made a series of monthly maps. Right. Okay, it goes on. The summer of 2007, I bought one of my first iPhones. There was a Blue Marble, right? So because of the backlash, NASA finally recently came out with another image of Earth. Okay, this is the image of Earth that they now have. They said, okay, enough artist renditions. Okay, if you zoom in, they literally write sex in the clouds. They can't help themselves. This is also an artist rendition. How do I know that? Because the earth is not a ball. I am 100% certain. So what are satellites? Okay, there's this great video that my friend Dave Weiss sent me before. And this will be, I'll just use this guy's stuff to help visualize all of this for you guys. First off, what they didn't expect was the invention of a specific type of camera called the Nikon something, where you can zoom in like 80 times and record at the same time. It's crucial. This is why lies get broken, right? Lies get broken because technology outpaces the lie. Perfect way to understand it is DNA evidence. Imagine committing a crime and leaving your blood at the scene because you are like, screw it. And then 50 years later, they come up with DNA technology, they find you and they put you in jail. That's what happens. This is what happens. Yeah, the P900. It's awoken millions of people to the deception. So stop with your whole, how dare you? You're so stupid. Guys, it's 100%. And I know right now you're getting mad, but it's fine. It's a new technology that allowed human beings to disprove the curvature. There is no curve and anyone can do it, and the math isn't hard. Pilots operate on a flat math. A gyroscope does not work in a globe model. They would have to continuously pull up their nose. You can't have an atmosphere with a vacuum. None of it makes any sense. The spin of the earth would cause higher hurricane winds than anyone's ever seen at all times, always going in one direction. None of it works, right? And now I'm going to show you some visuals. You might say to yourself, well, what's a satellite? I had a good conversation with a bear yesterday who actually makes satellites. And although I believe he's honest, he's a quite tall gentleman, satellites aren't what they say they are. Satellites are hot air balloons, and I'll show you right now. How do I know this? Because the technology is patented. Google, Amazon, all these people use these satellites with hot air balloons. And the reason they never tell you about it in mainstream media is because it will make you question the nature of satellites themselves. Oh, and by the way, all those pictures, they're all distorted. As you can see here, these silly morons forgot to edit out this linear string to show the curve of the lens. All right, this is what an actual satellite is.
By the bench robe.
Just
the
watch.
Student's photo here was taken with a fisheye lens, and then the article falsely claimed it was the curvature. Do you see the deception? In addition to the flat horizon as shown at 100.
Just real quick, this is called Our Flat Earth Journey by Taboo Conspiracy 2. Wait till you see what a satellite is, and then we'll continue. And then I'll show you the math of the curve, and I'll read some letters and whatnot. And I know this is bothering a lot of you, and frankly, grow up. If you don't admit the main lie in life, like the big lies, evolution, all these big lies, you create a prison planet. And that's the design of it. This is satanic. This is bigger than human beings. This is to get people away from God. That's the whole point. It's to make you a parasite. It's to take God's love, the Father, our actual Father, and replace him with the father of lies. The envious one is what the Muslims call Satan. Listen to this.
8,000 feet. The Felix Baumgartner jump proves the flat Earth in another way. Here's where Felix entered the dangling capsule at maybe 10 feet. Notice where the horizon line is. Here's Felix at 128,000 feet. The horizon line should have dropped substantially. Instead, the horizon line is at the same exact spot, thus proving that the horizon does indeed rise to eye level, belying the globe model again. Exhibit 25. No space satellite.
Before we get started, just to really drive this home, you have a false perception of institutions. You think the government is here to protect you, schools are here to teach you, yada, yada, yada. Just 9/11, the Gulf of Tonkin, and the food pyramid will prove that that's not true. The fact that when people say, then show us the edge of the earth, you can't. Why? Because it's illegal to go to Antarctica. And the devil is in the details. They say you can go to Antarctica. You can go to Antarctica. There's one little spot that you can go to, and you're guarded with men with guns. In the 1950s, Russia, Korea, America, all these people that allegedly were at war all signed a treaty that no civilian travel would ever be allowed to Antarctica. And throughout all these wars, that was very important. And what was their reason? Environmental factors. Talk to anybody who existed under Russia control, USSR control. They don't care about the environment. They never did. They would destroy a lake like that if it meant getting an ounce of nickel. It wasn't to save penguins, guys. It's because that's the ring. There is no job in the world that operates on a globe spinning Earth. None. Civil engineers, architects, none. Sniper, and people will lie in chats, but thousands and thousands are in these groups talking about how, as a pilot, why do you never have to pull up your nose? It's 8 inches per mile squared is the curve of the Earth. It's constantly curving. And that's exponential. So in 100 miles, you're looking at 6,660, all sixes, curve. You have to actively pull your nose up at all times. If that's a ball, and no one can ever see the curve. Just watch what satellites actually are.
The common objection to the flat Earth is, what about satellites? Did you know that NASA has hundreds of these satellite balloons up in the air right now? I never knew these NASA satellites existed before flat Earth. Have you seen them? Google and many other companies
Just look at what you're looking at right now. That's what a satellite actually is. And yesterday when I did my stream on how rockets aren't real, like the speed's off, the bounce is off, the trajectory is off, the acceleration, no human could ever survive. It's 35 times faster than a bullet. So any bank, if you're in the military, if you're flying a supersonic jet and you bank hard, the blood will leave your brain to the point where you have to wear compression suits. They're going 35 times the speed of a bullet. They're going way faster than sound. The Earth at all times is allegedly going faster than sound. It's all nonsense. And when they bank, when they turn, which every single rocket does, all the people inside would be dead. It's not relative. If you bank going thousands of miles an hour, everyone inside dies. That's all real. So when I made that and people spiraled and said, oh, I made satellites. You may have made satellites. They're not spinning around the Earth. They're in hot air balloons. They use buoyancy. Just like the rocket ship I showed you yesterday is a giant balloon. And guys, millions are waking up to this, and I'll show you profound evidence using the Nikon camera. You can zoom in and record as you're zooming in and out. My theory is the person who made the camera didn't know what they were doing. No one could have thought this. That's how God works. God will just put little things like this that people are like no one could have predicted the printing press. When the printing press was created, millions of peasants that had no ability of getting books could now get books. It caused major social upheaval. This one is bigger. People are waking up to the fact that the Earth is not a spinning ball. And I know you're going to call me stupid and crazy. The hell you live in, if you live lies, is infinitely worse than any of the words you can call me. Okay? So just know that. This is what a satellite is. And then we'll talk about all the math and all the experiments that people do every single day with one camera.
These balloons as well. Look up Project Loon. The fact that NASA and its subsidiaries hardly discuss these so-called satellites was a huge proof for me because it evinces a deliberate effort to conceal the fact that space satellites don't exist, simply because they're not necessary. The whitewash of these balloon satellites is evidence that they are lying about space satellites. These high-altitude balloons can carry 8,000 pounds and include telescopes, radar equipment, communications equipment, internet, etc. Here's one that almost killed some people. Also, never mentioned is the fact that almost all of our alleged communications come from undersea cables and cell towers, not supposed satellites in space. Your cable and satellite radio do not come from space. What about the Hubble telescope? This is the Hubble telescope. It's called SOFIA. One flat earther was able to get a NASA manager to admit on the phone that the images from SOFIA were strangely being used as Hubble's images. Finally, look at these actual NASA videos of satellites. They are manifestly fake. Look at this one that was launched during a space shuttle mission. It's dangling from a wire. Yes, the graphics are getting better, but this one old video alone proves NASA's fake.
All right, so let's just review really fast. So if you go back to NASA's mainstream releases of what a satellite was from not that long ago, it's nonsense. It looks like you're watching a Star Trek show. It doesn't match reality at all. That's why technology outpaces it. How are you going to stop it? There is no spin. There's no spin of the Earth. Go outside. This lie has been so big that it makes you not trust your senses. That's why gender is changing and math is now about black people's skin color. Yes, there are satellites in the sky. What you're watching are balloons. How do you know that? Because the technology is widely available, and that's what NASA uses. Why would you have undersea cables if there was none of it makes any sense? So now where can we find this video? Oh, I plugged it already, but I'll tell you again. Our Flat Journey by Taboo Conspiracy 2. Now let's just look at some of the, and by the way, this guy is extremely intelligent, extremely educated, and I know tons of people like this. I like to just stay out of all this stuff, but enough's enough. If you don't know why Justin Trudeau just got elected again and gender, like people think 5-year-olds can have sex changes and math is black, you have to understand that your dog is a bobcat. For those of you that missed it earlier, when someone said, oh, why is my dog just chomping at the bit? I mean, my dog just bit my dick off. And who has it? It's not a dog. It's a mountain lion. You have a mountain lion in your house. You, sir, are crazy. You think Betsy, my dog, is a mountain lion? Yes, it's blatantly a mountain lion. And until you admit what you're dealing with, I'll show you just a good section. And sometimes I do get sick of people just calling me stupid and all this stuff when all of the math, everything you can see, everything you can feel, everything you can touch, every single career that has to do with judging distances, no one ever factors in the curve because it isn't measurable or a spin. None of it's real. Why would they do this? To destroy your connection with God. This is straight up Satan. Oh, how dare you? I'm just going to let this dude talk for a little bit because he doesn't have the platform I do. And you know what? Much love to Eric Dubay. I know I can be hard on that guy because his fans are tediously annoying and he's a yoga bending dipshit. But like the fact that he did a lot of this work back in the day and took these bullets, hats off to you, Dubay. And I mean that, and I know you can tell if you're hearing this that I mean that sincerely. Socially, you're terrible. And you're very self-righteous and your fans are annoying. But like the fact that you took a lot of these bullets early on and you showed a lot of people this stuff, I do have respect for that. And for those of you that don't know, that is who Savanier is. And I'll still make fun of him because socially he's a disaster. But like, the fact that he talked about dinosaurs being fake and all that stuff, it's like years ago, I have a deep respect for that. I'm going to be sick. What are you talking about? This will lower your depression, lower your anxiety, lower your fear because it will make sense. When your world has been distorted, it happens everywhere. If I didn't admit my dad was a homosexual, none of his behavior made any sense. He just keeps going out for walks and paying men $6,000 and he's a lisping queer. Like, admit what it is. Oh, he's got daddy issues. No, I got profound insight from facing a tough reality in my life. I love my dad. He's crazy. He's sick. He's a liar. But it was harder for me to admit that than anything that has to do with the earth. That's the guy who raised me. That's the guy who got me into music and got me into comedy and got me into all kinds of stuff and told me I was smart when kids told me I was an idiot, you know. And it's like, I had to face that he's a liar and a wizard. This is nothing for me, even though it does come with a lot of social shame. But just watch this dude just break it down.
This mathematical expression. 8 inches per mile squared represents how much a distant object should be hidden below the horizon from a ground level view based on the official mathematical dimensions of the Earth. That is a ball Earth with a circumference of 24,901 miles. The curvature formula is a mathematical certainty for all observable distances with respect to the imaginary globe Earth.
I know this
Roll
dude's a
bottom.
little dry, but there's a really good purpose for that. I can be a wild man and just kind of be like, well, how do you not see it? Let's take a breather and take a good 10 minutes and just listen to someone who's much calmer and more mathematical than me explain to you so that your dialectic fires up. And then we'll read some letters and call it a day.
Stated the curvature drop formula very well. If the Earth is a globe and is 25,000 English statute miles in circumference, the surface of all standing water must have a certain degree of convexity. Every part must be an arc of a circle. From the summit of any such arc there will exist a curvature or declination of 8 inches in the first statute mile. In the second mile, the fall will be 32 inches. In the third mile, 72 inches or 6 feet, as shown in the following diagram. So, at 1 mile, a distant object should drop 8 inches. Not a big deal. But let's look at 4 miles. Remember, 8 inches per mile squared. You square the miles. 4 miles times 8 inches divided by 12 equals 10.6 feet. A curvature drop of 10.6 feet at just 4 miles. Now wait a second, we could take binoculars out and easily see 4 miles on a clear day. What about a distance of 8 miles? 8 miles times 8 inches divided by 12 equals 43 feet or 13.1 meters. Now, I bet there are a few people here who have stood at the edge of a lake on a clear day with binoculars and could see the shore on the other side 8 miles away. But there should have been roughly a drop of 43 feet. Let's be clear there.
All right, you get it. Let's just get to some gravy. All right, like watch this.
Tall mountain, like this one here, Mount Drum in Alaska. The prominence of this mountain is 6,710 feet. Very close. How many people have witnessed a drop this tall while driving 100 miles along a coastal road? You can see 100 miles with a high zoom camera. No one has witnessed this curvature. The Suez Canal, as shown in this video, is 120 miles long. Under your official globe model, that's a curvature drop of 9,600 feet or 2,926 meters. That's about the prominence of Mount Shasta, shown here. Do you see a curvature drop of 9,600 feet along the Suez Canal in this video that could hide Mount Shasta? I don't. Another important question is, why haven't you ever heard about the very fun fact that the Earth supposedly drops at 8 inches per mile squared? Everyone's heard of E equals mc squared, and no one can apply that to reality. But up until just a few years ago...
Really let that hit home. E equals mc squared doesn't mean anything to anyone. You hear E equals mc squared all the time, but you never hear anything about the equation of the curvature of the Earth. And when you hear 8 inches per mile, you think that's nothing. It's 8 inches per mile squared. It's exponential. That's how circles work. It's tremendous amount of curvature. And the reason you keep being told energy equals mass times the speed of light squared, I mean, that's so stupid and it doesn't apply to anything in your life. It's an intentional red herring. So just, this part it seems a little boring and mathy, I get it. But soon you'll see just experiment after experiment after experiment. And the lies to cover it up is where you really see the devil. The devil is in the details. When you see weathermen trying to explain mirages and all this, and the flat earth community, they just design another experiment that deals with the previous lie. And then they have to come up with another lie and another lie and another lie. It's mind-blowing to watch how historically we are just sitting on a rotten pile of lies. Just with every truth, they come in, oh, it's because of, and they'll just invent something. The Van Allen belt. But then that goes back and disproves one of the things they already said, and that's the nature of wizards. They end up in their own prison, not you. Always speak and think the truth. And you cannot agree with me on this, but just, I'll still be your friend. I don't want this to be a dividing issue. But it's clear. It's as clear as anything. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. There is zero evidence whatsoever, none, to the spin of a globular Earth. And when you see and all of your sources are from NASA, the government, giant corporations, and it all requires profound faith in the father of lies. What happens when you stop believing in the spinning globe Earth? You no longer feel like a parasite. You know that we are in a perfect system, that we are important, that we matter. Your soul, your child matters. How do people offer up their children to Moloch with abortion and trans stuff and all that? Because they've been told they don't matter. They're parasites. That human life is a bane to the existence of the spinning blue marble and the infinite black. It's so profoundly sick. This isn't to hurt you or to make you scared or to make you not trust people or all that stuff. It's to set you free. And it does. I'm not telling you to become a flat earther, but just stop calling us stupid. There is not, you could say stuff like ham radio. What does that mean? There is no curve of an earth that doesn't spin. That's as observable as the hand in front of your face. And when you understand that, you understand how people can look at a 5-year-old boy and say that's a girl. Because they're so programmed to the lie. And facing down my father's lie allows me to see other lies. That's why I'm in a position where I can help people see lies. Now, enjoy.
No one ever heard of the Earth's supposed curvature drop of 8 inches per mile squared, even though every person should see this on a daily basis. Imagine how fun that would be in a classroom to demonstrate the shape of the Earth by measuring the supposed curvature drop of a city that's 30 miles away, by using a simple math that a 10-year-old would comprehend. But no one was ever taught this in a classroom, not even in surveying courses. Why? The 8 inches per mile
squared.
Let me
just tell you, we're about to get more into the gravy, but let me just alert you guys to what liars sound like. They measure the drop over water. This isn't right because water finds its level. The surface of a lake will not follow the curve of the earth, but will be flat due to the nature of water. That person's now banned because they're either so stupid or they're a liar. The earth is 73% water. All the oceans. So if you say that the oceans don't follow the curve, stop. Guys, listen. Stop leading your brothers and sisters astray. Stop. I know what you're doing. You know what you're doing. When you say stuff like that, you're going to make naive people or people that desperately want to hold on to their worldview because they had emotional connection with the teacher who told them. I know what you're doing. When you say stuff like that, oh, this isn't right because water, blah, blah. Okay, as a critical thinker, the earth is mostly water. So stop, don't do that to people. It's mean. It's cruel. It's such a well-crafted deception that I know it's not just because someone's stupid. They're doing it to mess with you. All right, let's just get to some gravy here.
Is very accurate. Height in ancient Egypt that has varying interpretations. In contrast, flat earthers rely on actual, concrete measurements that anyone can make to measure the supposed curvature of the earth if there was one. Here's an infamous example of the curvature problem. How many people here can quote this weatherman? What you're seeing here is a mirage. Why is he saying that?
This is where the wizards get revealed. It's in the lies. It's in the cover-up. It's when the way to tell when someone's a liar is how they cover it up. When it's like, why do you have lipstick on your shirt? It's like, well, I was at the lipstick store and there could be a reason. Oh, I hugged Brendan's wife and she always has all that lipstick. And then if the girl thinks like, oh, that's roughly exactly the same height as my husband. But what if the girl you just listed was 5 feet tall and her lip would have been right here? That's when you are shown to be a liar. The better move would just be like, I don't know, if you don't know. But when you start adding information, you're done. You're already toast. Once someone catches you in a lie and you just start adding reasons, you'll never get out, especially with the kind of weaponized autism and the amount of technology that's at our fingertips now. You're done. Steven Crowder's a homo. Watch this. He's claiming it's a mirage. And then watches this dude calmly takes 10 minutes to just absolutely dismantle that statement.
Because the entire city of Chicago should be hidden behind the curvature of the earth. Does that look like a mirage to you? Of course it's not. It's bullshit. Everyone here probably had warning bells go off when you heard that weatherman make that ridiculously false statement. That is no mirage. That is a direct line of sight that is often obstructed by haze, miraging, atmospheric distortion, weather, or larger, closer waves and swells that have a larger respective angular size. The hired liars out there will use these obvious atmospheric distortions or large swells and waves as proofs of the curvature. Don't let the deceivers trick you.
And the way this works, because if you understand more about this, that's so preposterous with that guy. He's like showing this fake curve of water. He's like, because of hot air, light bends. But yet 100 million light years away, the light comes right to your eye through a vacuum. Is because you want to believe it. Like when my dad would say, "Oh, I'm just flamboyant. I just like to go to conferences with your godfather, who oddly moved to Brazil." It's like you want to believe the lie. You want to be like, yeah, that's right, because you don't want to be one of those people. Oh, you're one of these flat earthers. I hear people say that flat Earth is a psyop to discredit anyone for talking about the fake moon landing. That's mind blowing. That a flat Earth person is here to discredit another movement because they sound so crazy and stupid. Want to know what sounds crazy and stupid? That the Earth is a ball spinning 1,000 miles an hour in an infinite vacuum, spinning around a sun going 66,000 miles in a perfect plane with all these other planets. A perfect plane, even though it all came from a giant explosion called the Big Bang. That's my 3-year-old son could come up with a better origin story for humanity than that. Like when someone says that to me, it's not when someone just thinks that, because a lot of people think this because it's a heavy indoctrination, but like when they condemn me and say, "Oh, the fact you think that the Earth is a flat plane, you're discrediting everybody." It's like, no, I'm not. All you have is ham radio. Watch this.
Here's another one. In this clip, the news lady again says that you're seeing a mirage. It's a photograph from Michigan to Milwaukee at a distance of 80 miles. The top of the tallest building in Milwaukee should be 3,102 feet below the horizon, according to the spherical model, but we can see much of the city line. Do you think that's line of sight or selective curvature hopping mirages that just happen to present a flat Earth? Can you allow yourself to see the problem here? I don't care if you believe me right now, but you as a rational thinking individual need to grab your telescope and your binoculars and head out to the lake or ocean on a calm, high visibility day without miraging, and you will see the flat Earth for yourself. We see too far. There is no Earth curvature at 8 inches per mile squared. That is a fact. That brings us to culprit 2. What would have happened if Rowbotham in 1838, who was claiming that he could see too far, could have live streamed his 6-mile test on YouTube?
This is when things get exciting. It's not depressing. Like, we have the ability, we have the new Gutenberg, we have the printing press.
Well, maybe things would have been different. The YouTube platform enabled hundreds, if not thousands of us to conduct similar curvature and other tests, like Rowbotham. YouTube enabled us to share our observations with millions of people, and they could see it for themselves.
Someone said something hysterical. That's not a woman in our bed, babe. That's a mirage. It's that stupid. It's like that. It's like, no, you're not looking at Chicago across the lake. That's a mirage. Trust us. Now keep giving us all your money and your kids. It's just like, what?
It is founded on repeatable observations and tests.
This is the game changer. It's the camera that anyone can buy that can record zooming in and zooming out. It dismantles every single red herring they have, and it's just it's pure boatloads of gravy.
One here can perform, and millions of people are seeing the truth despite the overwhelming propaganda and censorship that is now happening. Flat Earthers.
Oh, and just another real quick fact for those of you for those of you Christians that are like, oh, you're from the devil. You're a deceiver. This coincides with the Bible. The spinning globe doesn't at all. That's so just carry on, my wayward son.
Flat earthers say, believe no one, test it for yourself. Because of the Flat Earth revolution, YouTube has taken active steps to stop the Flat Earth on its website, as openly stated in Congress by the president of YouTube, as shown right here. Yes, the president of YouTube proclaimed that YouTube would suppress Flat Earth and promote the official story, and it's YouTube's official policy. And so it's hard to find genuine Flat Earth researchers anymore. YouTube is now actively banning and suppressing peace-loving people like me, while simultaneously promoting the official globe.
Yeah, and understand that. That's a very powerful point, because I've gotten a lot of YouTube backlash and all that, and it's easy to see someone like me and justify and say, oh, he makes fun of Jews or blacks or all this, he swears a lie. No. Just, like, no offense to this guy, but fairly just boring sound. I didn't mean boring, that's a negative, but just like dry, peace-loving people that don't swear, don't talk about. There's no possible argument for hate speech for a guy like this, and these people get hammered when it comes to censorship. Not only don't they swear, they don't even say anything provocative about, like, I'm a comic, so I say crazy stuff, but like, this getting taken down proves the lie. What are you scared of? What are you scared of? E equals MC squared? You scared of 8 inches per mile squared? Einstein married his cousin.
But Google's censorship cannot undo what has been done. Humanity has discovered that there is indeed no curvature to the earth, and that truth will not be suppressed because you can see it for yourself with merely a telescope or high zoom camera. Even though it has become a bastion of censorship now, I still want to thank YouTube for its unwitting help, and especially those first Flat Earth pioneer YouTubers like Eric Dubay, ODD Reality, Mark Sargent, Jeranism, Rob Skiba, DITRH, Mr. Thrive and Survive, My Perspective, P-Braid, Glowbusters, the speakers here, and so many more. Thank you. Now we're to the third culprit for the Flat Earth revolution. We already discussed the curvature chart, but now we're going to test its application, which brings us to the Nikon P900. They now have a Nikon P1000, but this P900 changed everything. Nikon made it easy and affordable to zoom in at 83 times magnification, record it, and then upload the video to YouTube and other video sharing sites. I thought Flat Earthers were maybe faking their tests, so I bought this camera so I could see it for myself. Flat Earthers aren't faking anything. Unlike the globe model propagandists, you don't have to trust us. Flat Earth isn't word of mouth anymore. I can show you the actual video proof again and again and again.
Yeah, and here's the thing. It's like, and people like us are very demonized, and everyone says, oh, you're so stupid and crazy. It's right out of the mouths of a closet homo, guys. It's like, how dare you? Show me that it's a spinning globe, and don't cite this. Hang on. This was drawn by a guy. Where'd you get that info from? NASA. That's an artist's rendition, according to his own words. His own words. Then we wrapped the flat map around a ball. My part was integrating the surface clouds and oceans to match people's expectations of how Earth looks from space. Where did I find this information? NASA.gov. So what's the new one? What's the new image? They said, oh, we swear this one's real. Yeah, they put sex in the clouds, just like Disney does. Werner von Braun and Disney were buddies. They always put stuff like that. It's their calling card. Satan can't help himself. So that's the globe argument. The globe spinning argument is a den of thieves and liars telling you over and over and over again. Now, every single measurable experiment will prove otherwise. And it's like, oh, weather balloon. Yeah, I'll show you some of that image. I'll show you those images. It's as flat as a pancake. And you can't go to the edge because it's illegal. Antarctica is the ring around the Earth. It's not here. And by the way, there's never been a polar expedition. You never see people go north to south around around the South Pole. Never, ever, ever. And their excuse is because of penguin habitation. You can't take a commercial airline from Buenos Aires to South Africa, which is a much shorter path, at 40,000 feet because it will disturb the penguins. That's written in their policy. If you believe that, you've accepted the distortion of your reality to a point when 4-year-olds become girls and math is racist. You can't face, if you don't go at the root of the weed, it just keeps growing back stronger. And this is real, guys. I'm not just going to be like, well, I don't know what it is. I like gravy. It's flat. Just keep, and this is just one video. I'm just trying to show you visuals because a lot of people like visuals. There is no evidence at all to a curve that doesn't come from NASA. And yeah, satellites are made and then they're put in hot air balloons.
Before I start discussing the proofs of the flat Earth, it's necessary to first address the ridiculousness of the official heliocentric model, because you probably haven't really thought about it. I didn't. I just parroted information in my classrooms to get the grade. Shockingly, very few people even know what the official heliocentric model is. Let's just cover a few of the numbers. If you believe in official heliocentrism, you believe that the wobbling and tilted Earth is rotating 1,037 miles per hour at the equator. The speed of sound is 767 miles per hour, so the ground you're standing on, at least on the equator, is allegedly moving at 1.4 times the speed of sound. Can you think of any evidence of the Earth's rotation? Wouldn't you think that this movement would be evident in the atmosphere, that airplanes, clouds, and weather balloons would be affected by the ground's movement at 1,037 miles per hour? The fact is that there's no evidence of the ground's rotation whatsoever. Foucault pendulums and the supposed Earth's Coriolis effect are nonsense. They are absurd lies. Second, if you believe in heliocentrism, you believe that the Earth is moving in its orbit around the Sun at 66,600 miles per hour. Even Einstein said you can't detect the Earth's movement by any optical experiment. So why do you believe in this nonsense?
This one was a mind blower for me because that's what it looks like. You have to understand, according to their model, the Sun is rocketing through space, and then the planets around it. They claim, and I'll tell you why they claim this, that the planets are in a flat plane. That it isn't like all over the place. It's a flat plane of circles. Why? Because that's how they can make their predictions with their model. They took our flat plane and they put it out there. And they took the firmament and they put it down here. Isn't that fascinating? And that's how they can predict, that's how the math can coincide. But just, it's preposterous. Because according to their calculus and all their math, in order to predict where they see planets and all that stuff, the solar system is a flat plane, all spinning like a record. That the sun's, I'll keep showing you this, but that is the exact inverse. Out there is the dome. It's all, here is the flat plane. And when you just do that inverse, you can still make calculations, but they're all based on a fundamental lie. So just look at this. It's preposterous. And what makes it frustrating is like when I was in Hollywood and I said that Caitlyn Jenner isn't a woman, and people are like, how dare you? How dare you? Right now I'm getting this from like the Steven Crowders of the world. When I would point this out, they'd be like, you're crazy. You're just a... No, I'm not. I'm not. And the more that you resist against this, you put yourself in a little prison in your own mind. It's your call. It's not my life. I'm just trying to let you know that the reason Justin Trudeau just got elected, math is now racist, 4-year-olds are girls, it's the whole world is distorted by one big lie. And the good news is it's breaking so fast. Because now that you've heard this, you can't unsee it. Everywhere you go, you'll be like, that's odd. Wouldn't that, in your mind, it's almost like when you get a cast off your arm and you start getting the tingle. And you have a massive advantage in life. Because if you live under a false premise, you can't make any predictions and you can't function properly. This has cost lives in war. There's tons of examples of the globe lie costing people's lives because of technical errors.
Take it on faith. But it doesn't end there. Next, the official model says that the sun is also moving at approximately 450,000 miles per hour, and all of the planets are somehow being dragged by the sun's gravity as the sun rockets through space around the Milky Way galaxy. With all these inconceivable and undetectable movements, the North Star has remained fixed, year after year, and has been that way throughout recorded history.
Let that sink in. With this preposterous amount of movement, or just whatever, you get it.
Next, you believe the entire Milky Way galaxy, including our sun and the North Star, is traveling at 1.34 million miles per hour towards the constellation Hydra. If you believe in heliocentrism, you believe the Earth is moving in a vortex through space like this at over 1 million miles per hour. Of course, this video isn't correctly scaled, but it's even more ridiculous when you think of it correctly scaled. But I want you to think about this. All of the so-called planets and their moons are all supposed to be on the same plane with the sun, but rocketing with the sun at unimaginable speeds, being pulled by gravity. How would gravity hold these planets on the same plane as the sun? How surprised would you be at firing a bowling ball, representing our sun, and then have tiny BBs up to 3,000 feet away orbiting around the zooming bowling ball sun?
And here's the real kicker. Halley's Comet is once every 80 years. And gravity is a force you can't measure or see anywhere or explain. But just trust Einstein because he's a short hat who married his cousin. Do you see it yet? Do you see it? Halley's Comet, every 80 years, one little thing comes around with this math, with this speed, with this force, all because of what force? Gravity, a thing you can't measure on any level. It's all buoyancy. That's why they use balloons for satellites. And when you see it, it's George is spiraling right now.
And still maintaining the same speed with the bowling ball. It's nonsense, especially when you consider that those tiny BBs have other tiny BBs rotating around them, all maintaining the same plane with our bowling ball sun. Think about comets that zip away from the sun to then, 70 years later, like Halley's Comet, to catch back up with the sun on a tabular schedule.
And bear in mind when you say why, it's to break you from God. Think about what this does. Think about the image of the world. That's the image from the eyes of the deceiver. That's Satan's view of the world. That's the view of the envious. That we, God's children, are parasites. That we're insignificant dots of carbon on spinning nonsense balls through an infinite black. Well, the devil is in the details. Ha ha ha! We can figure out that isn't true, Satan. You know, it's like, it's not real. We are special. Our children are special. They should be protected. Math is real. It's logic. It's not about the color of your skin. Justin Trudeau is an embarrassment and not a leader. Speak the truth. The biggest obvious deception that allows so much of this humiliation to happen is that the earth is a spinning ball. It's not. And every fiber of you that says it is only because of indoctrination institutions. You can't think of one time when you've been like, oh, the earth just moved. Or, oh, you know, if I fly from New York to LA, east to west or west to east, it saves me a lot of time because of the spin. You think that all the air moves with the earth, but yet I mean, come on. This is exciting times.
Hatched by rubber bands? How did they catch back up? I don't care how many degrees you have. This is stupid. Look at this footage of star trails. Think of how impossible it would be to film these trails as the Earth is supposedly wobbling, tilted, rotating at 1,000 miles per hour, orbiting at 66,600 miles per hour, and chasing after a sun zooming at 450,000 miles per hour. As pointed out in the book Kings Dethroned, modern astronomy is built upon shameful blunder after shameful blunder. It's fascinating how few honest, educated people have found these blunders. But that's the power of institutionalized conformity. Even the most educated become nothing but mere parrots of their institutions.
How profound of a statement is that? Gee, I wonder what Crowder is going to reveal today. He's a parrot because he got hooked. Took the ticket. Ate the lolly. Wore the fancies. Now you're just another parrot in the devil's deception, Stephen. Go back to Canada, you dumb... I'm not going to swear today.
But let's get to some of the proofs of the flat Earth. For those who have been watching my YouTube channel, some of these tests are repeats, so please be patient. This video is really meant for the skeptics. Exhibit 1. Reservoir 6.3 mile sun reflection test. What you're seeing right now is my first curvature test back in April 2016. I had been researching flat Earth since October 2015, but this was the first time I tested it with my Nikon P900. I chose a distance of 6 miles because I wanted to test whether Rowbotham was telling the truth. He was. In this test, my wife was carrying a mirror at the opposite end of a reservoir, reflecting the sunlight from 6.3 miles away. I watched my wife place the mirror into the water. However, under the globe model, and that's taking the observation height into consideration, my wife should have been entirely obstructed by the curvature with a target hidden height over 12 feet. 12 feet should have been hidden by the alleged curvature, but there is simply no curvature over that her reservoir. I also want to quickly address the globe refraction argument. This is a still from the video. Here it is cropped and zoomed in. Here is a picture of what it looks like on the opposite shore, and you can see the strange branch that projects horizontally. If 12 feet should have been hidden behind the curvature, then my footage from 6.3 miles should have looked something like this. But the globe liars...
One of the reasons I love this guy is because he's like me, that he's been hammered by so many trolls and false arguments that he just meticulously goes through all of them like they're babies. But it's like, no. Would you like me to show you why that isn't an argument? Like, the mirage argument is insane. Just watch.
Will claim that this 12-foot section hopped the curvature and is a mirage. But here's the problem with that. If this 12-foot section inexplicably hopped the curvature, then why didn't the rest of the view get distorted? There would be a cascading distortion effect. As you can see, there is no distortion accounting for this curvature hopping. Exhibit 2. Utah Lake 7.53 mile spotlight test. This was my next flat Earth test at Utah Lake in May 2016. This time my wife was carrying a spotlight 7.53 miles away.
Someone said, have they debunked radio waves? Yeah, all of it's debunked. When Marconi first was doing radio waves, everybody was like, this is impossible to go this far on a curve. And then they made up the ionosphere. That's his history. They just made up the ionosphere to explain radio waves bouncing. There's no ionosphere. Marconi was doing experiments where he would transmit radio signals like 1,000 miles, and people are like, that isn't possible with the globe Earth. And then they're like, ionosphere. And people wonder why nothing works anymore and why everyone's chopping their dicks off. Until you face your father of lies and go to the real father, you're going to be chopping your dicks off. That didn't make any sense. I mean, it kind of did.
Sure, place the spotlight right up to the water's edge. At 7.53 miles, my wife should have been entirely hidden by the curvature with a target hidden height of 21 feet. As you can see, the water is calm and flat. Obviously, this isn't a mirage. This is a direct line of sight to the other shore. In order to see this far, you need very calm water without miraging or atmospheric distortion. Be cautious, the liars out there will take pictures of distant mirages and call that the missing curvature. Exhibit 3. Utah Lake 7.53 mile frozen spotlight test. For this test, I reversed the previous Utah Lake test and I conducted this test in freezing conditions. Like the last time, my wife's spotlight should have been hidden 21 feet below the horizon. What's also important about this video is the fact that all the lights and the reflections are symmetrical. A globe supporter wants you to believe that the spotlight is selectively arcing over the curvature, which is absurd. But if that's the case, then how come all of these lights are symmetrical, like they're above a mirror? Which of these lights are mirages? Which ones are selectively jumping over the hump of curvature? You would not see this unmistakable mirror symmetry if the globe model...
So for those of you that don't conceive of what he's proving right now, just trust me on this. He just proved that there's no mirage.
The claim was correct. Furthermore, my wife carried the spotlight from 50 feet up to the water surface. When did she turn into a mirage? Notwithstanding the absurd...
Oh, and another thing, just to point out, it's clear him and his wife are having a blast. When it's like, well, my wife had this thing, and I'm like, this is fun. Disproving the lies that keep you. Okay, we all know Caitlyn Jenner's not a dude, right? This is just like that. It's just like, and when you realize that we are made and we're special, this dude's a Christian. Wait till you hear his closer. This isn't out there conspiracy theories. This is the Bible. It's like, no, I must hold on to the fact that we're just spinning through an infinite darkness, even though there's no math or any experiment you can do to prove it. But I'm in my own mind. It's how you control billions of people. And right now, just in Brazil, there's like 11 million flat earthers or something. This is growing insanely because of technology, because of YouTube. And I'm now realizing that the biggest threat to these people isn't making fun of Jews or blacks. It's having a mind capable of thinking. That's why they're trying to make you stupid and addicted. Because the big lie is obvious when you see it. And it's like they see it as an ideological contagion that they don't want to spread. Because when you're in a world that you can't predict or understand, you're a slave. And they want you to be a slave to the father of lies. Don't. Be a slave to the good guy.
Projections. It is obvious that the lake is flat. Water seeks its own level. So long as viewing conditions are clear, the globe model fails again and again. But don't trust me. Go out and do these tests yourself. Exhibit 4. The horizon test. What is the horizon? Under the globe model, the horizon is a physical barrier caused by the alleged curvature.
Just to plug this guy again, it's Our Flat Journey by Taboo Conspiracy.
The horizon marks the point where the water or ground geometrically begins to obscure distant objects. This is the official position. As I mentioned earlier, you can use a calculator like this one to determine the distance to the alleged globe physical horizon. In contrast, the Flat Earth model says that the horizon is a matter of perspective. Artists get it. You'll see the same in a long corridor or in a tunnel. Just like how railroad tracks meet at the horizon, the ground and the sky similarly meet at the horizon. Do you think it's just coincidence that railroad tracks come together at the horizon? No, this is all a matter of perspective and has nothing to do with the physical curvature barrier. You can see this truth of perspective by just looking at the clouds at the horizon. You can see that the clouds follow perspective lines and are not bending around a curvature. In fact, you don't see any bending of clouds to match the curvature whatsoever. This is how sunsets work on a flat Earth. I have spent a lot of time and effort in testing the alleged globe horizon, and the globe model does not match reality whatsoever. For this horizon test, I was at the Great Salt Lake in Utah. I was observing a small piece of land at a distance of 1.34 miles. I brought the camera down to just a few inches above the water. Under the globe model, at just a few inches above the water, the horizon could not be further than 0.7 miles away. That's the maximum horizon distance under the globe model. There should not be any water visible beyond 0.7 miles, but you can clearly see the horizon extending many miles further than possible under the globe model. The naysayers will claim that this is a mirage or that the water is selectively refracting. Think about that. They're claiming that the bulge of water disappeared in front of the peninsula and then rose up miles beyond the peninsula but did not affect the peninsula with this magical act. The refraction excuse is nonsense, and each observation I've shown you so far clearly proves that. Exhibit 5, BMLS B69 and the oil platforms. This video is from my friend BMLS B69 in California. For this video, he's at an elevation of 105 feet. There are 3 oil platforms he's filming. The closest one is at 10.9 miles, the second is at 21.9 miles, and the third is at 26.4 miles. From that elevation, the horizon line cannot be further than 12.6 miles. In other words, under the globe model, the horizon should appear before the second platform.
By the way, just to have fun with this stuff, it's really funny when people they can't give up the lie, so they have to just be like, well, I mean, there's different mirages for different parts of the ocean. It gets to the point where, it's like Steven Crowder not admitting he's a homosexual. It's funny. Like, you have to see it as funny, because if not, it'll just make you mad. You have to see it as because the things that people will say, like a lot of this was inspired by one of the bears being like, well, I'm only motivated by facts and measurable. It's like, do you really want to do this? Because I don't want to be a divider at all when it comes to like stuff like this, because I know the pain it gives people. And I just like to, pour a little gravy here and there. But like, fine. I'll show you the facts. I'll show you the measurable evidence of every aspect of this realm. It's not a spinning ball. And stop acting like you have the facts because someone lied to you when you were 5 and gave you a globe. Equals MC squared. You can't even explain that. And you know you can't. Energy equals mass times the speed of light squared. How about this one? Every mile has 8 inches of curvature squared. Now go and measure. How's that for facts and evidence? You arrogant expletive. But have fun with it.
9 feet of the second platform should be hidden by the curvature. As you can see with your own eyes, the horizon is not only beyond the second platform, the horizon is beyond the third platform, further than 26.4 miles. 130 feet of the third platform should have been hidden below the horizon, but none of the platform is obstructed.
The beauty of this experiment is the fact that they're different distances and all the math still lines up, dismantles the mirage nonsense.
The horizon is beyond the third platform. Did the bulge of water selectively disappear from in front of the second platform and then reappear well beyond the third platform? And this disappearing and reappearing magic effect happened all without affecting the 2 platforms themselves? Are you skeptics starting to see the problem with the globe yet? What do you do when the evidence you can reasonably gather completely contradicts your indoctrinated presumptions?
And this isn't, not only is this not edited or from a small group of Russian trolls, I know tons of people that they do this stuff all the time. They just get one of these cameras and they go, it's actually a really fun community where you just think of a new thing where it's like, well, this mountain should look like this. Let's go test it. And every single time it comes back with the flat earth model. No one's ever once seen a curve ever. It's like, well, the Red Bull guy, we can prove that that's a fisheye lens. Would you like to see what the actual Earth looks like at 70,000 feet with a non-corporate sponsored hot air balloon? Just let it go, man. It's just like the anger will eat you alive. And I'm not telling you what to believe, but just don't be like, you sir. Because this will turn millennials into baby boomers. You got to get ahead of the boom. The boom boom crew.
Will you allow yourself to question your indoctrination, or will you hold fast to your comfortable conformity? I can show you many more of these horizon tests, all proving the globe model faults. But let's get to some of the laser tests. Exhibit 6, D. Marble's 10-mile laser test. This laser test was by D. Marble. In this case, the person holding the laser was at 7 feet, shooting the laser
and the globe lie allows people to say that Christians are idiots because it's like, how do you believe something that no one... Just think about the inversion, right? They say, how do you believe in nonsense fairy tales in your little book? What's the fairy tale here, guys? All of science? The fairy tale is what I'm showing you. There's zero evidence of a spinning ball. None. What's the evidence of God? A child's smile.
10 miles. At 10 miles under the globe model, the observer would have to be at a height of 30 feet in order to see the laser source. Instead, you can see the source of laser at just inches above the water. That water is flat, and the laser source proves that it is not being obscured behind the curvature.
Well, the laser is a mirage. I'm just going to be in my Buick.
Buyers have tried to confuse the issue by claiming that the laser wasn't level, but that's entirely irrelevant, since if the laser was angled downward, it would have hit the ledge curvature quicker. If the laser was pointed upward, then the observers would still not have seen the source, because the source of the laser would still have been hidden behind the alleged curvature. This footage would be impossible if we were living on a globe. Exhibit 7. Dr. John Dee's 9.5-mile laser test. Now, the following test was by Dr. John Dee, who has a PhD in spectrophotometry. Like many other tests he has conducted, Dr. John goes through painstaking detail to confirm that over a distance of 9.5 miles, there's absolutely no curvature. 39 feet should have been hidden. Dr. John repeatedly took sea and air temperatures, height, weather, humidity, and atmospheric readings.
Someone just said, look up footage from the Concorde flat at 60,000 feet. There's a tremendous argument that that's why they shelved the Concorde. The Concorde was a plane that could go across the Atlantic Ocean in like 1.5 hours, 2 hours. It just hauled. But it had to go so high that people on board could easily see that the Earth was flat. And so then they cited they didn't want to affect the penguins, so they stopped using it. Happy Feet is such a crucial piece of propaganda. Everybody's like, we don't want to affect the penguins. It's so funny when you see it.
Is a legitimate scientist proving that we've been told a lie. Exhibit 8, FE Core 25-mile laser test. FE Core is an independent scientific foundation. You can read about FE Core's powerful laser test here. The laser test was over a distance of 25 miles. All atmospheric conditions and temperatures were taken, and there's nothing there that accounts for the fact that they were able to see the laser 25 miles away. 297 feet should have been hidden below the horizon. That's the height of a skyscraper. And FE Core filmed the laser at just 5 feet above the water. Exhibit 9. Salton Sea 18-mile sun reflection and laser test. Out of all of the tests that I've seen, this is probably my favorite so far. A group of researchers went to the Salton Sea in California and tested the curvature
Think about how
with both
fun it is when you're like setting up a test and then you see that it works. Just the high fives must be echoing. You could probably still hear the high fiving.
and a sunset mirror flash. These tests were huge because the test was at a distance of 18 miles, and you can see it all on video with multiple witnesses. Again, that's 18 miles shore to shore. As you can see here, they were able to see and film the reflection of the mirror that was 18 miles away from the camera. 155 feet should have been hidden. 155 feet. This minaret in Uzbekistan is 150 feet tall. According to the globe model, you would have to be standing on this minaret.
Just to recap a little bit of why we're talking about this, the reason that the world is going mad is because technology has caught up to the lies. The Seattle School District is planning to infuse all K-12 math classes with ethnic studies, questions, and encourage students to explore how math has been appropriated. Do you see it yet? Do you see the reason? If you keep distracting people and keep saying that math is racist and trans and other, it's all to distract you from doing math. Like seeing the world for what it should be. There's a functional purpose for all of this. It's not just random. The world isn't going insane. There's a giant lie being covered up. Why, you might ask? To enslave the world. That's why they don't want you smart. That's why they want families broken. That's why. They, you might ask, who is they? They is whoever follows the father of lies and not the father of Jesus. The father of lies is Satan, the envious one, as the Muslims call him. The devil is in the details. You can see the devil in the details. The broad strokes, you don't see the devil. You see the devil when you zoom in and you see that they write sex in clouds. Because the devil has to show you his hand. It's part of the rules. Because the devil only exists because he's allowed to exist by God as a test. He has to show you his hand. You have to choose it, or else the test isn't real, and you're just being, let's just keep watching.
To see the reflection of the sunlight 18 miles away like that. In addition to the sun reflection test, they also conducted a laser test. Here is the laser from 18 miles. You can even see the reflection of the laser on the flat water. Do you think it's possible that the source of the laser and its reflection both selectively hopped over the curvature to present a false flat Earth? Exhibit 10. J. Tolan Media 1 Infrared Observations. J. Tolan Media 1 is a well-educated engineer who has been destroying the gold model with many infrared observations and other tests. Just look at these videos and photographs taken from an airplane at 30,000 feet.
I can't stop laughing thinking about just the baby boomers and everybody being like, well, I mean, clearly this is just Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Clearly, every one of these experiments, it's just all about shame and mockery. That's what the devil's, when you got to be able to do recon, because a lot of people don't understand the other side. I happen to understand the other side pretty well. They use shame and mockery. That's all they do. It's all they have. That's why I can withstand it so easily, and other people have a hard time with it. When people say, "You, sir, are a fool. I used to like you, and to see your descent into madness, your wife is going to..." That's all they have. It's the demon's only weapon. It's just to make you be like, "Well, I don't want people to think that my wife's going to leave me and that I'm some kind of failure, so I'm just going to keep... Oh, they'll go along. I'll be a company man." And they go, That's how demons sound. "Oh, you, sir, I was with you at Crowder when you come..." Yeah, were you with me in Crowder when I went after the trans child movement? And then I discovered that it was actually Teva Pharmaceuticals does all of it, and they're out of Israel. And that's when Steven Crowder stopped speaking about it. And that's when I realized that he was, that his master was the father of lies. Because if you actually cared about stopping the trans child movement, which is child abuse and it's sick and it's an act of reprobate behavior, you would go after the company that does it. Teva Pharmaceuticals. They have a complete monopoly on it, and they're out of Israel. Unfortunately for Steven Crowder, he serves Israel because they pay him money and they give him lollies and fancies. And guess what God removed from him? His lineage. He will not be fruitful. He will not have children. That is his punishment. And he will never know. He will never know how big that is. What he missed out on. He will not have a lineage. Enjoy your lollipops, Crowder. May you live 1,000 years.
In some cases, he is viewing further than 500 miles with infrared, a complete impossibility under the globe model. All of his tests and observations are indicating a flat Earth, and it's simply beautiful what God has given us. Exhibit 11, Beyond Horizons website. Beyond Horizons isn't a flat Earth website, but it is a repository of record-breaking long-distance photographs on the surface of the Earth. There are dozens of globe-defined photographs on this website. Here's the record photograph of Peak Gaspard at a distance of 275 miles or 443 kilometers. With an observation height of 9,272 feet, the very top of Peak Gaspard at 12,730 feet should have been hidden 3,772 feet below the horizon. I literally could point to hundreds of these globe-defined photographs and videos. Based on the evidence, I think that any reasonable person watching this would understand that we see too far. And if you want more photographic and video evidence,
would you like to know why there's chemtrails, ladies and gentlemen? It's because we see too far now. The world isn't just a script of the evil ones, but it's a battle. It's always a battle. And we have allies, we have friends, we have people that are working on behalf of the good, the true, and the beautiful. It's not a one-way street to hell, guys. There's a fight. The chemtrails are happening now, in my opinion. I can't prove this, but it's to block out the lines of sight. This is the big one. This is the big lie. This is the one. This is big. When people now can see with these cameras how far there is no curve, by love, it's like they're literally creating haze so that you can't see it. And they're trying to put stuff in there so that you stay dumb. Think about that. Doesn't that make more logical sense than anything else you've heard? And you can't deny chemtrails because the government has already admitted to it. But now they say, oh, it's because, 10 years ago when some of these legends were calling it out. Oh, and by the way, I did give Eric Dubé props in the beginning of this, for those of you that are just joining. Yes, he can be socially insane and his fans can be tedious, but the fact that he brought a lot of these things to light when he did and faced a lot of that stuff, I do have respect for him. Especially the more I see these lies, the more I respect Eric Dubé. I just don't like how he acts. So hats off to you. All right, let's watch a little more of this.
YouTube channel, Taboo Conspiracy 2, because this was just a sampling of the many proofs that we see too far. But let's move on to some of the other major proofs of the flat Earth, because it doesn't end with just these optical and laser measurements. Exhibit 12, Airplanes and Gyroscopes. Now that we understand that the globe model requires that the Earth drop away at 8 inches per mile squared, shouldn't airplanes have to continually dip their noses to account for this drastic change? Think about a pilot who levels out and flies the airplane at 500 miles per hour for just 10 minutes. That would require a correction of roughly 4,630 feet after just 10 minutes. Pilots would unquestionably know of this curvature correction, but it doesn't exist. Pilots don't have to dip their nose to correct for the curvature, regardless of the speed or altitude of the airplane. No pilot makes this adjustment. Pilots fly over a flat and stationary Earth. Furthermore, the sensitive mechanical gyroscope in the airplane, which retains rigidity in space, indicates neither curvature nor rotation of the Earth. Gyroscopes also prove a flat and stationary Earth. Exhibit 13. Guglielmo Marconi. On December 12, 1901, Guglielmo Marconi received a radio transmission across the Atlantic Ocean at a distance of 2,135 miles. A lot of people told Marconi that it was impossible to send a radio signal that far due to the alleged curvature of the Earth. In fact, under the globe model, those skeptics were right, as there would be a curvature drop of 527 miles over that distance. A drop of 527 miles is huge. Do you think that radio signals traveling at the speed of light can jump a curvature that size? The distances of radio transmissions have gotten much further since Marconi, again proving there is no curvature. Every time no curvature is proven through actual experimentation, mainstream science counters with imaginary, new reasons why the Earth only appears to be flat. Due to Marconi, the ionosphere was imagined and created. Exhibit 14, Knickebein. Knickebein was a VHF, that's very high frequency radio targeting system used by German bombers in World War II. Knickebein was a line of sight targeting system. For this example, there were two beams, one from Stolberg, located 443 miles away from the target, Derby, England. The second was from Cleve, 331 miles away from Derby. What's fascinating is that the leading government science advisor for Churchill, Frederick Lindemann, refused to believe that there was such a beam due to the curvature of the Earth. The advisor was right. There should have been a major problem with the curvature, as VHF beams do not allegedly wrap around the curvature. It turns out that the Knickebein system did exist, and people lost their lives because Lindemann believed in the curvature. But the fact remains that Knickebein was a line-of-sight targeting system. Accordingly, Wikipedia and other websites claim that the German bombers remained within line of sight of the two beams. What's the problem then? There absolutely should not have been a line of sight with the bombers. With hidden heights at approximately 64,000
By the way, a ton of pilots get it. Like, there's times where I'm going on airplanes and stuff, and pilots do an extra, like pilots are one of the biggest communities of this type of stuff. Pilots are, because now once you see it, and you're sitting in that cockpit for hours and hours and hours, you just start being like, whoa. Like, pilots are so gravy-based these days.
44 feet and 117,504 feet, there was no way for these Knickebein systems to have line of sight with bombers that only flew at 19,200 feet. The Knickebein targeting system proved there was no curvature. Exhibit 15, Loran C. Loran C was a naval positioning system used for decades, allegedly up to the 1990s. Essentially, it worked by two radio towers on the coast that would transmit radio waves across the ocean. The Loran system would use the difference in the timing of the radio signals to calculate the vessel's location. This system was highly accurate and is probably the same underlying application used today that is referred to as GPS. If you're looking at the map, you probably already see the problem. These stations...
Someone just said, this is your pilot speaking, and I'm drenched in gravy. A lot of gravy up here. We're going to be traveling on a flat plane. Full-blown gravy.
Miles apart could be 1,000 miles away from the vessel, meaning these radio waves would have to have hopped a curvature up to 100 miles tall. The official explanation is that these radio waves traveling at the speed of light hug the surface of the Earth and wrap around the curvature, inexplicably jumping bulges of water and Earth dozens of miles tall. Does that sound believable to you? Wouldn't curvature hopping interfere with the location readings of the vessel? Like Marconi and Knickebein, Loran C is another proof of the flat Earth. One more point about Loran C. Look at this coverage map. Where is Loran missing? Remember that Loran was developed for the military. Did no one think it important to have location guidance for the navies in the southern hemisphere? The fact that Loran was missing in the south indicates that there was a problem with distances for southern vessels, which makes complete sense when viewed under a flat Earth map. The same applies for airplanes, which always lose their GPS signals in the oceans over the south, again evincing...
You guys still think that flat Earth is some sort of psyop to discredit the people who question the moon landing? No.
Flat Earth. Exhibit 16. The non-rotating atmosphere. At the equator,
this was
the ground
the
is
one.
allegedly...
This is the thing that did it for me. This was the thing, because when I first started seeing it, I was not happy. It was not fun at all. It was like when I first started seeing it out in Hollywood, how people were losing their minds. I didn't want to be one of these guys. It's very alienating. But it's all this stuff, the moving atmosphere was the thing. That was the whole... It's like once you understand what that means, you're like, oh, I got to be one of these guys. No one wants to be one of these guys. But when you detach yourself, it's almost like a safety harness when you're doing tree work. Once you take off your belt, you know, you don't want to take off the belt, and the belt is truth. Like, you have to speak what you believe to be true, or else you end up a wizard. And I miss my dad. So I know I'm motivated at all times to never speak the lie.
At 1,037 miles per hour. Yet Felix Baumgartner took a balloon up to 128,000 feet above the surface, and it took him 2.5 hours to get that high. So, if the ground is rotating at 1,037 miles per hour, then Felix Baumgartner should have landed in the Pacific Ocean. As you are aware, Felix didn't land in the Pacific Ocean. He actually landed 44 miles east of his launch site. That's against the supposed rotation, and absolutely the wrong direction. Don't you think the rotation of the Earth should have affected...
Someone said that to me before, and I keep my my mouth shut a lot, because a lot of these arguments are set up in a binary where no one actually gains knowledge. You just get angry. But I was talking about this jump, and someone was like, yeah, but he landed 20 miles away. And I wanted to be like, the wrong direction! And it should have been like 1,000.
This is a jump. They want you to believe that as Felix rose up through the air, that the layers of the atmosphere continually sped up to keep up with the ground below. Does that make sense to you?
Spectacled Bear just said, I don't think it's a psyop, I just think it's wrong. Okay, so this is my challenge to you, Spectacled Bear. Why don't you go ahead and make a video about how you can prove that the Earth is a spinning globe, and I will play it for thousands and thousands and thousands of people. This is your chance, and I mean this sincerely, to show the world why you think this is wrong and why the spinning globe is right. Take your time. If it's that obvious to you, with all the info I'm showing you right now, go outside and go prove your case, and I will play it. And you can then bathe and bask in the glory of being right. But I don't think you will you? I think you're just a little... It's my family... you know what you are. You know what you are. Coward.
I'm sorry, but the globe model is belied by fluid dynamics. Look at this volcanic plume. Although angled perpendicular to the surface, the volcanic plume is unaffected by any purported rotation of the ground below it. How could the upper layers of the plume keep up with the ground spinning at 1,000 miles per hour? It's asinine when you really think about it. From airplanes, to weather balloons, to hurricanes, to clouds in the sky, nothing is affected by any alleged rotation of the Earth.
Yeah, my challenge to anyone, without using NASA, because we've proven that they are a den of thieves and liars. You cannot take anything they say. Without NASA, because before NASA was created in the 1950s, this was not only a debate, a huge amount of people thought the world was a flat plane, because that's what it says in the Bible, and that's what all your senses say. Without using NASA, you make me a video proving that the Earth is a spinning ball, and I will play it. I am not scared of truth at all. If I'm wrong, you show me. But I know you can't. But prove me wrong. But until then, shut up. Because I see the chat. Oh, so you're a flat earther now? Show me the globe. Show me the globe. You can't. Without using NASA, a bunch of liars and thieves. You're only hurting yourself. I'm having a blast. Look at that. Does that look like a spinning ball?
I really like this quote from physicist Dr. Carl Scheffer. But we know of no body, the parts of which have much less connection with each other than is the case with air. The air layer next to the Earth, really dragged along by the communicated motion, would not be able to communicate its motion to the layers above it, for the simple reason that it stands in no connection with them.
Meanwhile, Spectacle Bear's like, oh, but I think that's all wrong.
These upper layers must therefore remain in their place, or which would signify the same thing, would apparently flow westward with the same rapidity with which the Earth is said to rotate to the east. Now, since a point on the equator, if the Earth rotates on its axis in a day, must move eastward at the rate of 1,250 feet a second, the air would similarly move 1,250 feet westward in a second, which would more than 10 times surpass the velocity of the most fearful hurricane. We cannot perceive the rotation of the Earth in any way. We cannot demonstrate it. There are no air currents which we can justly regard as, or even supposed to be, consequences of this rotation. These facts ought to be proof enough against the existence of a rotation of the Earth. Must it not appear almost absurd in us, preoccupied by what they have taught us in school, to accept a theory of the rotation of the Earth which neither is nor can be proven? Must we not wonder at the readiness of the learned of nearly the entire world, from the time of Copernicus and Kepler, to accept the conception of the rotation of the Earth, and then search afterwards now for nearly 3.5 centuries for arguments to maintain it, but of course without being able to find them? Exhibit 17. Snipers. Some may quickly counter that snipers account for the rotation of the Earth. The claim is nonsense.
Yeah, this one I actually do know about, and it's nonsense. I used to believe this too before I actually hung out with snipers and did long-distance shooting myself. I can't believe how many lies you just believe if you don't know it. Because the trusting nature of humans gets... And again, the reason this matters is because when you bend reality, you end up with racist math and trans children. You have to have an accurate perception of your world. And a lot of these people are now making these fake Black Lives Matter, trans kids, just to keep you from looking up and seeing what this world is. And I won't be shamed. You won't be able to mock me and have any effective ability. Oh, so there's some sort of, how dare you? All the evidence is in my side. You show me a globe without using NASA. Go ahead, Molyneux. I heard that thing with Molyneux and a flat earther, and Molyneux just got schooled. He just looked insane. He was like, well, I mean, NASA proves what the left... And it's like, you're the guy that hates the state, Molyneux. You hate the state. You hate government. You're an anarchist. But yet you put all your faith exclusively in a government agency, which means to deceive in Hebrew. Allegedly. I don't speak Hebrew, but I was told that. I could be wrong.
And many military professionals have declared the same. But more importantly, you can go online and read the actual sniper manuals for the Army Special Forces Sniper Training, Army Sniper Training, U.S. Navy SEAL Sniper Training, U.S. Army Special Operations, and the Marines.
Someone said it's understandable for people to think Flat Earth is wrong. Of course it is. I'm not an evangelical Flat Earther at all. After today, I'm not even going to talk about it much. But don't tell us we are dumb. That's the whole point of this video. I'm just sick of people that I respect being like, well, I have the facts and the evidence. No, the fuck you don't. I swore, but my family's gone now, so it's all good. You don't have the evidence. You have nothing but lies. And so have some humility. You don't get to tell us that we're stupid. You don't get to make us dance around the word flat earth because we're going to be put in some sort of category that experiences shame and mockery. You believe the earth is a ball spinning in infinite blackness. You're crazy. That happened with my dad. My dad and one of his little butt buddies tried to shame me and say, oh, you're a right-wing guy, or the FBI is probably going to watch out. I was like, you two are homos, and I know it. You deserve the shame. You're sodomites and you're liars, and you betrayed your wives. I didn't hear a peep from either one of them because I won't be in the inversion. I'm not the bad guy. Like, sodomy isn't pride. They have sodomy pride parades while flat earth people with math and evidence and experience have to hide in the shadows in little conference rooms in hotels. No. One thing a lot of these flat earth people are missing is the masculine spirit of, no, fuck you! And you need that. No violence, none of that. But you have to be like, oh, you're some sort of flat earther? Yeah, show me a globe, bitch! Have a little masculinity. Have some balls. The Jews call it chutzpah. Will you march in the street wearing assless chaps about how proud you are that you suck another dude's dick? Yeah, that's retarded. You don't get to shame people that are trying to figure out the world we live in with facts, evidence, cameras, experiments, community, joy, the Bible. That is not to be shamed. And if you want to be, so you're one of these flat earthers, so you're one of these fucking globe guys. Why don't you go dance around and praise yourself for being a sodomite? That is not something you should be proud of. Let's continue.
Despite popular belief, there is no sniper adjustment for the purported Coriolis effect. Again, a huge proof of the stationary Earth and more proof that popular media has lied to us. Exhibit 18, the Antarctic Treaty. The Antarctic Treaty is an important proof of the flat Earth because it evinces an intentional and multinational effort to prevent people from determining what's beyond the 60th south parallel in Antarctica. In short, independent travel is not allowed or outside of the 60th south parallel, and that hides the flat Earth. Under the general concept of the flat Earth, Antarctica is the likely shoreline of the world's oceans. North is in the middle, south is in every direction, towards the outside of the circle. You can see that here on this flat Earth map from 1587 from Urbano Monti and this 1892 Gleason map, both of which came out long before the Antarctic Treaty. Because of this, Antarctica is the one area that would prove the flat Earth model correct. Coincidentally, no independent travel is allowed below the 60th south parallel. This isn't a theory, it is a well-established fact. The Antarctic Treaty, its handbook, and its enforcement protocols, which have remained inviolate for 60 years, and include signatories like the US, North Korea, China, and the former Soviet Union, essentially ban any reasonable attempt to explore below the 60th south parallel under the guise of protecting the environment. Think of what has happened in the last 60 years. The Antarctic Treaty survived Vietnam and all of the Cold War despite the claim that Antarctica is rich in minerals, including coal, oil, and uranium. Were the Soviets really that interested in protecting penguins and the environment? I think the Romanian people would have a hard time believing that about the Soviet Union.
Just understand how many lies you have to believe to get to this point. So in the middle of major wars and conflict, in a world where countries don't get along, everyone gets along for one thing. No one's allowed to go to Antarctica. Well, you can go to Antarctica. You can go to one little outpost. And you're not allowed to go anywhere else because it's surrounded by men with guns. Why? Because of environmental protective reasons. USSR 1950s doesn't give a rat's ass about the penguins' rights. They would gut the penguins if it meant a gram of nickel. And we all know that. Corporations don't give a flying fuck about penguins. No one cares about penguins. I like penguins. I think they're funny, overdressed buffoons. But if it means, a better path, they can just be like, it's kind of loud, man. It's ridiculous. Why does it matter? Because when all these people say, well, why don't you go to the edge and take a picture? You can't. It's illegal. You will be shot on sight by a 7-nation army. I couldn't go to the globe or the edge. I couldn't go to the edge. A 7-nation army owns Antarctica. You get the idea. Let's just keep crushing.
Chris. Yes, Romania ratified the Antarctic Treaty on September 15, 1971. Don't your alarm bells go off when you hear that this huge swath of land, which is also the highest continent in the world, is off limits to independent exploration by people like you and I? Yes, they will claim you can independently go, but they are lying. The amount of red tape and other intentional restrictions that you would have to jump through is impracticable, and they know it, and the borders of Antarctica are patrolled by all signatory nations.
Imagine telling an American Indian about the one treaty that we kept. Think about all the treaties America did with the American Indians, where it's like, no, you guys get to make your baskets right there, and we're just going to be right here. And then they're like, yeah, no, we're not going to do that anymore. But then, yeah, it's like, if it makes you feel any better, for all the Indian, Vox Days people, his ancestors, like, hey, man, if it makes you feel any better, we did keep one treaty. For what? What? So you honored one of your promises? To the penguins. The one treaty that isn't broken. Think about all the treaties that were the non-aggression pact between Hitler and Stalin, Russia and Japan, they're not, and then they just keep breaking treaties. But it's like, the one thing everyone can agree on as you're slaughtering humans in the millions is we don't want to annoy penguins with any sound. And it's the highest continent in the world, which means it's the highest elevation. Why? Because it's the edge of the earth. So, so why don't you just go take a picture? You can't! Because this is the one secret that ensures all of the country's power.
There are token explorations along the ice shelf, and there are a few destination spots that you are not allowed to venture from, but that entire section of the world is off limits to independent travel. This doesn't happen unless they are hiding something big from us. If you would like to know more on the subject, go and watch this video I made. You can find it on the Globebusters channel. So telling we flat earthers to take a picture of the edge or the dome, if there is any, is a ruse, because nobody is allowed to independently travel below the 60th south parallel, and that fact is proof of the flat earth. Exhibit 19. Lack of north-south circumnavigation.
Think about all the evidence that it's flat. And then people still hold on and be like, but, we have ham radios. It's like all the evidence, all of it. There's no curve. It doesn't affect anybody with a job with it. NASA's just only lies. There's means, mode of opportunity. You see it everywhere. You can test it. Nothing is predictive. And then someone's like, yeah, but I mean, how dare you? I have a Buick. It's just fear. I understand it, but a lot of the flat Earth people are just they're a little I wouldn't say too patient, but they're a little either they just get real frustrated and mad, or they just are real passive. It's like don't call yourself a flat Earth. It'll really. It's like, no, fuck them. You set the tone. Don't have shame for things you shouldn't have shame in. That's the upside down. If you think the world's flat, say it. Are you some sort of flat earther? Yeah. Is your mom some sort of whore? It's easy. Flip it on them. They'll scurry away like a bunch of little coward rats that they are.
East-west circumnavigation is very possible on the flat Earth. But what isn't possible on the flat Earth is north-south circumnavigation. In particular, under the generally accepted flat Earth model, it appears as though you can't, for example, fly from the tip of South America, traverse Antarctica, and then make your way up to Australia or South Africa. That would be the shortest route. So guess what doesn't happen in real life? North-south circumnavigation. Below the 60th south parallel is completely devoid of all flights, and the vast majority of southern hemisphere flights first go to the northern hemisphere before traveling back down to the southern hemisphere. The routes are a joke. There are a few who claim they have completed a north-south circumnavigation trek, but the claims are ludicrous, most often referring to flights that turn around once they get to Antarctica and full of other fraudulent indices. Hundreds of thousands of flights east-west, and only a few highly questionable north-south circumnavigation claims. Come on, alarm bells should be going off, because this wouldn't happen on a globe. Exhibit 20, the eclipse. The lunar eclipse is very often raised as the key proof of the globe, but it actually doesn't help the heliocentric cause at all. First, there's the well-documented Selenelian. This is video of one that happened on January 20th, 2019. There's the lunar eclipse above the horizon, and there's the sun above the horizon. A selenelian is where a lunar eclipse occurs when both the sun and the moon are both above the horizon, which means there is no alleged Earth between the sun and the moon that could cause a shadow on the moon. That's geometrically impossible.
By the way, that's just pure unadulterated gravy train. Understand what that means. There's times and moments in the world where you can see a lunar eclipse and the sun simultaneously. The Earth is not causing a shadow. The sun is not 400 times farther away and 400 times larger than the Earth, and somehow they line up like two machine-cut nickels. If you think that, again, you have to reevaluate and you have to stop intentionally lying to yourself because you don't like pain. Well, guess what? You keep on that road, and that's why this is happening. Math is now racist, and little boys are little girls, and the legal system won't protect you. Why? Because if you distort your reality, everything gets distorted. And if you don't address the root reasons, the root deceptions, you cannot protect yourself from these things. These are the tools that the masters of this world have that you don't have. That's why they're trying to obfuscate it so that you don't get the edge. You don't think there's an advantage to understanding the way the world works? If you're in cloudy water, a bear can just eat you. God, I'm so fired up. I get so fired up sometimes. All right.
Official explanation of refraction is ludicrous as it causes a cascade of problems with other actual observations. Next, the shape of the eclipse is wrong. A shadow of a sphere on a sphere does not make a curve like this. You just have to think about it. A curve on a curve is distorted. Third, the color a lunar eclipse produces is reddish. Can you produce a red shadow here on Earth? No, it's impossible, and again, the official explanation regarding sunsets and sunrises on Earth appearing on the moon is shockingly ridiculous. Finally, very often the lunar eclipse comes from the wrong direction, like in this video. Under the official model, the shadow should always come from the bottom and rise up. Instead, you'll often have lunar eclipse shadows come from top to bottom, again belying the globe model. The solar eclipse is a strong proof of the flat Earth. First, notice that the sun and the moon are the same size. That's a statistical impossibility under the globe model. Now look at the size of the shadow. The moon is supposed to have a diameter of 2,159 miles. Then why is the shadow of the moon only 70 miles across during a solar eclipse? These are all proofs that the sun and the moon are much more local than claimed. Exhibit 21. No photos of Earth from space. Another huge proof of the flat Earth is that there are no photos of the Earth from space. Here's the 2002 blue marble image created by Robert Simon from NASA. It looks real, right? But it's not real, and NASA says so. I can't say this with enough emphasis. This is an admitted fake. A NASA employee wrapped a flat map of the Earth. Let me repeat that. He wrapped a flat map, not photograph.
Let's just really enunciate this, because sometimes when this dude has a very soothing tone, they admitted this isn't real. NASA did. That's called taking the ticket. When they look at you and say, this isn't real, and you go, I thought it's okay that I scribble on my face. It's not real. They created this image. This isn't a photograph. Well, but the other photographs, they didn't have another photograph for 43 years. Well, they didn't have the budget. $60 million a day. They can't take a picture. If you believe that deception, that's why the world's bent. It's a giant spell. This is lesser magic. Magic with a K, not a C. Look into it. This is real. This is how you distort your brain. Why do you think these are called temples? That's pure unadulterated gravy. I will not apologize for it.
He wrapped a flat map of the Earth around a cartoon ball and added surfaces, clouds, and oceans to match what people think the Earth looks like. You don't believe me? Well, let's look at this NASA article about Robert Simon, who created the 2002 blue marble image. Here's the first interesting admission from NASA. The last time anyone took a photograph from Earth above low Earth...
And why do they admit it? Just real quick again. Is because the spell doesn't work unless you know unless on a subconscious level you know what they're doing. If they're just lying, they can't control you. You have to be shown that it's a lie, and you have to accept the lie, and then you're a slave. It's all about free will. This is some real deep shit, but once you wrap your brain around it, it makes sense. They tell you it isn't real. And then you go, it's real still though. And then they go, Yes, got him. They're fishing. Fishing for souls. Got a soul. Boom. That picture isn't real, guys. It's an artist rendition. They tell it to you and you still believe them. That's control. You know, Vlad the Impaler used to put a golden cup in the middle of town square unguarded to show that no one would steal it. Why? Power. Think about how powerful that is. Where he would put a golden cup in the middle of town square unguarded, and day after day after day, no one would touch it because they feared him so much. Why did he do that? To show everybody else that he is not a man to be fucked with. NASA does it every day. It's an old mind control technique. This is not new. It's just on a grand scale right now. But the good guys are coming back.
That showed an entire hemisphere, one side of a globe, was in 1972 during Apollo 17. Of course, the moon landings were fake, and so the 1972 photograph was fake. You can tell it's a painting when you actually look at it. But this is NASA admitting that there were no photographs of the Earth like this from 1972 until 2015. Without question, all of the so-called pictures of Earth from space for 43 years that you were brought up to believe in were only artist renditions and other fake images from NASA, and that's why NASA always uses the word image instead of photograph. That's pretty alarming. But this is the more interesting admission. Then we wrap the
and
flat
here's a
map.
little gravy for you. The reason that they're turning NASA private, allegedly, is because the government is still under the people. A lot of you people don't realize that, and you've given up your sovereignty, but the government is still below us. And that's why there is repercussions for NASA's lies, and so they've gotten rid of their liability by putting it on Elon Musk. Elon, you know, a character in a novel created by Werner von Braun. Literally, you can't make this shit up.
Around a ball. My part was integrating the surface, clouds, and oceans to match people's expectations of how the Earth looks from space. That ball became the famous blue marble. Simon wrapped a flat map, created from data, not photographs, around a ball, and made up the rest with computer graphics to match people's expectations. Seriously, that's just propaganda. How many posters of this image hang on walls of classrooms across the world? Here, you can buy it on Amazon. Don't you think it should include the warning? This is a purely phony image created by NASA employee Robert Simon
Don't even get me started about the Smithsonian, by the way.
fabricated to match your expectations of what you think the Earth looks like. So, maybe 1 billion people have seen this blue marble image of Earth, believing it's real, when it is composed of a flat map wrapped around a ball with other fakery added. Isn't that disconcerting for the honest, objective truth seeker? After the admitted 2002 blue marble fakery, NASA claims that they took an
This
actual
is the ultimate smoking gun, guys. So 43 years later, they come out with another one. It's all lies. And they pull a Disney. This is part of magic. Disney taught this to Werner von Braun. Just watch. Because this is all also in like Lion King and Little Mermaid and all that. They have to put, the devil has to put his signature in it. Because you have to be able to choose, you have to choose the deception. The whole thing is contract law. That's how evil works. So they have to show you what they're doing, and you have to be so full of sin and low vibration that you don't see it, or you choose not to see it, and you take it. And then you've sealed your fate. That's the whole point. Watch this part. It's mind-blowing.
Of the Earth from space in July 2015. That's the first alleged photograph in 43 years. Here it is. Does this alleged 2015 photograph look much different than the admitted fake image of 2002? As we already saw, NASA artists can admittedly create fake images of the Earth that look real to everyone, and that's a fact. Shouldn't you now be a bit skeptical? Instead of spending $340 million on...
All right, let me enunciate this again. So the artist rendition and the quote-unquote real thing just so happen to line up. Now, but just wait. There's more.
This alleged 2015 photograph. NASA could have just had another NASA employee recreate the 2002 image with a few different clouds and shading, and no one would know the difference, and NASA could pocket the rest. Now's a different example. If a forger created an admitted fake painting from Van Gogh and sold the perfect but fake Van Gogh for $1,000, that would be fine, right? As long as he's honest about it, I wouldn't have a problem. But then let's say this excellent forger claimed a decade later to have a real Van Gogh on sale for $50 million. Wouldn't you be a tad bit skeptical before purchasing it, especially if you had no way of verifying its authenticity? I would. But let's take a closer look at NASA's supposed 2015 photograph. Let's rotate it and zoom in. The word sex is spelled in the clouds. It's unmistakable. Some pervert at NASA thought...
So it's not just some pervert. It's part of lesser magic. So Disney and all these people, when they're subverting your kids or when they're selling you a lie, the way they establish contract law is they put something insane in it, and then they say, well, if you cared about your kids, you would have looked closer at what you're showing them. You know, there's like dildos and all this stuff in Little Mermaid and all that. They put sex in the clouds. And there's going to be people that say, oh, so it's just clouds, it just so happens. No, they wrote sex in the clouds, and they do it so that when you believe it, you're submitting. It's about submission, it's about power, control, and breaking from God. If you believe anything they say after seeing this stuff, it's on you. You're cursing yourself. Doesn't hurt me, but if you call me stupid, or if you try to call any of these people stupid that believe in this stuff, you sound like a psychopath. You cannot argue with me. You can have your beliefs, I have my beliefs, all that. But like, don't ever say you're some sort of flat earther now. Yes. What are you, some sort of slave? Some sort of dipshit who believes the father of lies? They have sex right in the clouds.
It's awesome. This isn't cherry picking one of 10,000 images. This is the first supposed photograph of Earth from space in 43 years, and it just so happens to have sex spelled in the clouds. Come on. Seems like Disney likes to put these types of hidden things to mark its cartoons, like in The Lion King, for example. This was also an interesting quote from Wired magazine regarding phony space images. Images sure don't come straight out of space telescopes looking press release ready. Each visualization,
just so you know, that means all
of artists and planetary scientists.
And visualization, this is how, again, a lot of people don't understand the nature of the devil or gamma males or any of these people. They have to trick and scheme because it makes them laugh. It makes them feel, the Muslims call the devil the envious one. It's brilliant. That's what he is. So they say visualization instead of photograph because they have to rub your nose in it. All artist renditions is what each visualization. They didn't say some, and they didn't say photograph. They're telling you what they're doing, and it's your job to reject it. You say the real N-word is no.
Collaborating to convert blips on a data readout into something that looks like a planet, all while remaining scientifically plausible. In other words, all of those space images you have on your walls are all imaginary constructs to only look plausible. Robert Simon created Blue Marble to match people's expectations. It sounds like that is the standard NASA policy. It's all propaganda. The next fallback for the Globe supporter will be the Himawari satellite. You know, the satellite the Globe supporters always boast is producing thousands of images of the Earth from space. I have to say this again. NASA already stated that it can wrap flat maps around a ball and make it look real. Himawari is just a step up in the software, as now weather radar on top of flat maps is just wrapped around a ball with an added night and day terminator line. Paul on the Plane has a great video exposing the fact that Himawari is just that. Software that wraps flat weather radar maps onto a ball. That's it. The total lack of so-called pictures of Earth from space only proves that the globe and space are nothing but propaganda. Exhibit 22, the professionals. So, when I was introduced to the flat Earth, I immediately thought of the many professionals who would need to deal with the curvature of the Earth as part of their career. You know, snipers, surveyors, pilots, civil engineers, military guys, that kind of thing. We already talked about snipers, but the truth is that none of these professionals account for the curvature. There are many interviews now with airline pilots, military professionals, radar operators, missile operators, engineers, commercial surveyors, and many more, all stating that there is no accounting for the curvature or the Earth's rotation in any manner, not one bit. That's amazing, isn't it?
Okay, just real quick, just to show you, I don't know if this person's stupid or a shill, but Tommy Gunn says, every celestial body within the solar system is a sphere from every angle, but we are flat. Nah, man, but this is cool. That's under the presumption that they're all planets like ours. It's a false presumption. What you're looking at, you don't know what it is. Admit that and move on. All your information is from the mouths of admitted liars. Just because you see circles doesn't mean what you're standing on is a spinning earth. That's like saying, hey, look, that's a rapist. Not a rapist. He has gray shoes. Not even close. The fact that there are celestial objects that are circles means nothing to what we're talking about. And don't lead people astray. Don't do that. Don't use trickery and mockery. I have a zero tolerance program for that. But what about free speech? I'm a fan of Duterte. The Philippines crushed.
Proof do we have that we live on a rotating ball other than just faith and liars? Exhibit 23, the vacuum of space. They want you to believe that this Earth and its atmosphere are surrounded by a nearly endless vacuum that's more powerful than any vacuum that can be created here on Earth, and yet this vacuum is so weak that it can't remove our atmosphere. This is a fact. There's simply no possible way that an atmosphere can exist adjacent to a vacuum. Hor vacui.
Nature, I have the truth and all the facts on my side. Do you know how much I listen to this shit all the time? When people are just like, well, I used to believe what you believed until I took a look at the facts. Yeah, I also look at all the facts. And all the observable facts point to the Earth not being what they say it is. Duterte.
The vacuum. For example, this MIT professor is showing that once you have a gas exposed to a vacuum, that the gas will enter and fill the vacuum, but it's really just common sense. Here's a practical test by Dr. John Dee, who confirms the same. An atmosphere cannot exist adjacent to a vacuum. And as shown in the test, gravity doesn't fix the problem. You can just place the vacuum on top of the atmosphere, and it doesn't change the outcome as the gas will flow straight up to the vacuum, and this is a minuscule vacuum when compared to the alleged vacuum of space. How do we know the official heliocentric model is false? Because we'd all be dead if it were true. Exhibit 24.
Yeah, thank God it's false, right? Or else we'd all be dead.
Altitude balloons. Some of the earliest high-altitude aeronauts confirmed the flat Earth. In 1931, Auguste Piccard reached an altitude of 51,775 feet, much higher than any plane you've been on. Piccard described the Earth as a flat disk with upturned edge. Around December 1933, Russian aeronauts
That's why they perverted Piccard.
Altitude of 11.8 miles, or 62,304 feet. The article reads, looking down, they tried in vain to detect any curvature of the Earth's horizon. No, you've never seen the curvature of the Earth from an airplane window. Fortunately, you don't have to be a death-defying aeronaut to see what's up there. What you're seeing right now is a video from 121,000 feet. I remember when I first saw this, I was just dumbfounded because it didn't match anything that I've watched before. Whenever you're shown a picture of a high-altitude balloon or even a high flight, you're shown something phony like this. This isn't once in a while. This is the standard. It turns out that these so-called curvature photos and videos were all shot with a fisheye or ultra-wide-angle lens to get this effect. That's a fact. The lens of the camera or the curvature...
By the way, that's why they named Jean-Luc Picard that, because what they do is they'll take a truth teller and they'll pervert their name so that it's a mockery technique. It's really gamma male and gay, but they still just do it. It's fucking stupid.
Window in the airplane is the supposed curvature. It's a curvature illusion. For all of our lives, we're inundated with supposed pictures from space. High-altitude balloons finally gave us a vision of what the Earth truly looks like from high up. Here's a great example of the standard deception. As you can see by the bent rope, the student's photo here was taken with a fisheye lens, and then the article falsely claimed it was the curvature. Do you see the deception? In addition to the flat horizon as shown at 128,000 feet, the Felix Baumgartner jump proves the flat Earth in another way. Here's where Felix entered the dangling capsule at maybe 10 feet. Notice where the horizon line is. Here's Felix at 128,000 feet. The horizon line should have dropped substantially. Instead, the horizon line is at the same exact spot, thus proving that the horizon does indeed rise to eye level, belying the globe model again.
Duterte.
Exhibit 25. No space satellites. The common objection to the flat Earth is, what
I
about
was talking to a
satellites?
bear who makes satellites yesterday. I know satellites are made, but they're just attached to hot air balloons, as you can see.
Did you know that NASA has hundreds of these satellite balloons up in the air right now? I never knew these NASA satellites existed before flat Earth. Have you seen them? Google and many other companies have fleets of these balloons as well. Look up Project Loon. The fact that NASA and its subsidiaries hardly discuss these so-called satellites was a huge proof for me because it evinces a deliberate effort to conceal the fact that space satellites don't exist. Simply because they're not...
Yeah, this is good. This stuff all helps you in life, too, about uncovering deceptive people in your life. What they leave out is so important. The fact that no one's ever shown you these images and they're widely available if you look is mind-blowing. But the satellites are attached to hot air balloons. But no one tells you that. Just because they want you to they just want to mock you. It's fucking so gross.
Terry. The whitewash of these balloon satellites is evidence that they are lying about space satellites. These high-altitude balloons can carry 8,000 pounds and include telescopes, radar equipment, communications equipment, internet, etc. Here's one that almost killed
By the way, this guy just had his 5th kid. The guy doing this video, Legend, Romania, crushing.
Also, never mentioned is the fact that almost all of our alleged communications come from undersea cables and cell towers, not supposed satellites in space. Your cable and satellite radio do not come from space. What about the Hubble telescope? This is the Hubble telescope.
Bear in mind, this information is from NASA. They admitted this from NASA. That's why the Hubble telescope has never shown us an image of our own Earth. Ever. $60 million a day these people take.
Sophia. One flat earther was able to get a NASA manager to admit on the phone that the images from Sophia were strangely being used as Hubble's images. Finally, look at these actual NASA videos of satellites. They are manifestly fake. Look at this one that was launched during a space shuttle mission. It's dangling from a wire. Yes, the graphics are getting better, but this one old video alone proves NASA is faking space. But we'll talk about that more tomorrow.
Duterte.
There are so many more proofs of the flat Earth that we could discuss. Look up Airy's failure and Michelson-Morley's experiments that showing the Earth is stationary. Ask yourself how there is no worldwide change of stars if the Earth is on different sides of the Sun every 6 months, meaning under the official globe model, nighttime is pointed in opposite directions every 6 months, but there is no actual worldwide change of stars. Look at the Moon, and ask yourself why are all the craters perpendicular, and why there isn't one crater from a meteor that came in at an angle, or horizontally, creating a chasm. Why do weather patterns and jet streams seem to fit so well on a flat Earth map? Why is there so much more life towards the alleged northern pole, but so little life towards the supposed southern pole, when there shouldn't be any difference under the globe model? But my question to you is, what are you going to do now? Will you go back to your comfortable conformity like a good dog? Or do you have an unquenchable desire to know the truth? Dave McGowan made this poignant statement. But what if your own eyes and your innate, though suppressed, ability to think critically and independently tell you that what all the institutions of the state insist is true is actually a lie? What do you do then? Do you trust in your own cognitive abilities? Or do you blindly follow authority and pretend as though everything can be explained away? If your worldview will not allow you to believe what you can see with your own eyes, then the problem, it would appear, is with your worldview. So do you change that worldview, or do you live in denial? Our imaginary fence isn't under control. NASA makes $59.7 million a day. That's a day. To deceive us, and so there's certainly a financial motive. But I think the primary reason behind the lie is more spiritual, and found in this quote from the publication called Lucifer, the Light Bearer.
And just one quick addition. Someone in the chat said something funny. So, Big Bear, does that mean that global warming's a lie? Yes. Once they sell you the big lie, they just torture you with the little ones. Math isn't racial. Your 5-year-old your 5-year-old boy can't be a girl, and there's no global warming. There's no globe. And judging by the chat, this has actually gone quite better than I thought it would. Because now you won't be able to go back to these guys. I've come across some information that I have to release publicly later today. This isn't my strong suit. I'm not a newsbreaker. I'm a comedian, damn it. But this fell into my lap. I'll keep you posted. No, he's not going to admit he's gay. He's not going to give you any information that matters. He's going to probably be like, Julian Omar married her brother, Ocasio-Cortez. It's so, like, once you see what the world could be and how the form and the beauty and the wonder and the love and God and all that, you can't go back. You can't listen to Joe Rogan morally subjugate everything, like make everything morally subjective, where it's like, yeah, that makes total sense, and so does the other thing, and I just want to freeze my dick and then get real warm and then just, ponder it's awful. But want to know what's better? Reality and truth. And this is the spiritual reality of the lie. He's about to describe it right now, and then we'll, figure it out.
Written in 1887. We date from the 1st of January, 1601. This era is called the Era of Man, to distinguish it from the theological epoch that preceded it. In that epoch, the earth was supposed to be flat. The sun was its attendant light, revolving about it. Above was heaven, where God ruled supreme over all potentates and power. Below was the kingdom of the dead, hell. So taught the Bible. Then came the new astronomy. It demonstrated that the earth is a globe, revolving about the sun, that there is no up and down in space. Vanished the old heaven, vanished the old hell, the earth became the home of man, and when the modern cosmogony came, the Bible and the church, as infallible oracles, had to go, for they had taught that regarding the universe which was shown to be untrue in every particular. The heliocentric model was created to usher in the era of man, and remove God and the Bible from all cosmogony. It brought us such nonsense as the Big Bang and evolution. It removed biblical ideas of heaven above and hell below, and the salvation of mankind. Instead, you became an insignificant parasite that descended from primordial ooze. The globe lie worked, at least up until now. My brothers and sisters, this is an exciting time as we have a chance to break these chains that enslave us. However, we must set aside our petty differences and join together with all humility before God to bring His truth to humanity. The evil cabal keeps trying to divide us. Please don't let them do that. Please go out and share the truth with everyone, as it is left up to us. Thank you for this opportunity to speak here today.
Okay, so that's from Globebusters. The name of the video is Our Flat Earth Journey by Taboo Conspiracy. He's going to be at the Flat Earth Conference in Dallas. That's what Weiss is just telling me. I'm going to read some letters. I told you today was going to have some serious gravy, and I'm going to do body shots. And that guy did such a good job describing and showing all the meticulous nature of it, because the devil is in the details. I was just pretty sick of people saying, but Big Bear, my uncle worked on a satellite, and you sure. It's like, no more of that. And I know it won't stop, and I know you're going to keep coming, but I wanted to show you why you have no right to tell people like us that we're stupid. Because you're the ones believing in something psychotic. And I won't be one of these people that is scared. If you say flat earth, everyone just thinks you're crazy. I don't care. Have some balls. Say what you are. They have pride in the streets for sodomy. But you can't say that you got a camera that showed you some interesting thing about the curve of the earth. Come on! Have some balls! We can learn from the Jews. It's called chutzpah. Also, unauthorized.tv, hand-drawn bear made this, which is awesome. Logos Rising, unauthorized.tv. Myself and E. Michael Jones, in person, in Indiana, have a conversation, and this is for supporters only, because you guys support it, and we want to give you something really good as appreciation. So unauthorized.tv, it's ungrabbable, and it's a great conversation with me and Jonesy, and he's a wonderful man, so check him out. And also email me at whydidn'ttheylaugh@gmail.com. If you were ever a Patreon supporter of mine, let's have some fun. I got kicked off Patreon. And as you can see, I'm not one to just have things happen to me. So email me and let's just see what happens. You know, those are all the details you need. And if you want to support the channel, P.O. Box 727, Gig Harbor, Washington 98335. I've been kicked off PayPal. I've been demonetized on YouTube. I've been kicked off Facebook, kicked off Twitter. Listen, we have the federal government's post office service. If you want to support what you like, or it goes away, and that's just the reality of life. So if you like this type of information, if you like riding the gravy train, then support. Send me a super chat in the mail. If not, totally fine. I am doing quite well, so it's all good. Don't feel guilt. Gammas wear gravy diapers, bears drink the gravy. Yeah, exactly. And listen, think what you want. You can believe what you want. I can believe what I want. Don't call me stupid. Don't call me crazy. And don't say me looking at this information and thinking a certain way is discrediting my credibility in this world. Because you sound ridiculous. And you have to be a better father, a better mother, a better brother, a better neighbor. Rise. I'm serious, because this shit's getting real. They're saying math is racist. There's a reason I did this today. Justin Trudeau got elected again in Canada. Math is now racist, been appropriated by Western culture. 2 plus 2 is not appropriated by Western culture. Where does the madness come from? Where does the madness come from? I'll show you. It comes from that. A bent world. And at the same time, a father just lost rights to stop his son from being transitioned by Teva Pharmaceuticals and his psychotic mother into a girl. Odds are he'll kill himself by 30 now. That's tragic, but it's beatable. Stop lying. It starts with the basic lies. Do you trust your own eyes, your own ears, your own hands? Do you trust logic? Because if you give it up for lollipops, fancy pants, little pats on the head from people with power, you will lose everything. And when you see these people, math is now racist. What's next? Admit why. It's not sad. No, it is sad. It's tragic. I get it. But don't fucking be a little beaten dog. Don't be a beaten dog. Admit what's real and grow. Bloom. Rise. It's not a scary time. They did not expect the Nikon camera to come out. That's how God works. Satan can do, the envious one, can do all he wants. The gamma male, the ultimate spiritual gamma, can do all he wants to deceive and to humiliate and to subjugate. And then out comes a camera that you can put on a website. And it's not by design by the evil ones. The truth is always hurting them. And when it comes out, the people can just disprove one of the most profound lies that the world has ever seen because of a fucking camera. It's amazing. Rejoice in it. And don't let people shame you and mock you for saying what you believe to be true. They're wearing assless chaps in the street, bragging about sucking a dude's dick with big rainbow flags, taking the symbol of God's covenant with us that he's not going to flood us again and making it about butt pumping. And yet you feel shame because you think the earth is flat, because everything that you see says it is. Rise. Because if you don't, that's when, this is not violence. This is peace. Just because I'm yelling and I'm super fired up, this doesn't translate to hate or violence. This is how you avoid that. Violence comes from the unheard man, from the white knuckles of quiet desperation. That's where violence comes from. Speak. Oh, and you've got your iron shirt on today? Thank you, Tiny Bear. Let's read some letters. Gotta be verified as Neil deGrasse Tyson Bear? Yes, welcome. That's hysterical. They didn't steal the truth. They can't steal the truth. They make you accept a lie. And you don't need to preach. You know, we got Thanksgiving coming. You don't have to be at the dinner table being like, you idiots think it's a globe. No, just know it. And don't back down to people. You don't have to convert people. You don't have to spread it around and be like, admit it. This is my job. This is what I do. I fire up the live stream and I say some intense shit. You don't alienate your families. Don't alienate your jobs, but do not lie. There's a great middle ground that you can find. Don't be annoying. Don't be like, how the fuck do you believe the earth? Of course they believe the earth is a spinning globe. It's the biggest lie in the world. You got to have sympathy for them. But when they call you an idiot, when they ask you, are you one of them flat earthers? Say, well, you know, I have my opinions. And then they go, you sir. Then be like, you want to talk? Fine. but don't use this as a wedge. Like, these type of things can be a wedge in your life, and I highly recommend that you don't alienate your family. Your family is so important, you know, thick or thin, unless one of them turns out to be a thieving homo that lies to everybody. Owen, it's my friend Kyle's birthday on October 27th. Could you give him a shout out? Or Kyle, sorry. He's a big fan. Thanks. Yeah, happy birthday, Kyle. Well said. We're not rotating? No. What? I mean, just show this video to somebody. Just send this to somebody. I'm not going to take it down. This one's pretty long for the stream. I'll have to read this after. Because it's been over 2 hours. I'm just... Big Bear, first off, thank you for keeping myself, my girlfriend, the rest of the unbearable sane in our current insane clown world. Honk honk. You're doing the Lord's work. Please never stop, and fuck Joe Rogan. I'm writing this letter seeking some Big Bear insight. For some time now, the girlfriend and I have been debating on who we each would like to see become the next president after Trump's 8 years are up. Utilizing my own list of qualities that I believe to be presidential, I combed the bowels of the internet searching for individuals. The girlfriend is pipe dreaming for Candace Owens. Ugh. Like yourself, I believe she is doing the Lord's work. I don't believe Candace Owens is doing the Lord's work. She's a grifter. But personally, I just do not to see Candace becoming anything more than Republican Party's token black girl. It's exactly what she is. She was a leftist 2 years ago. She figured out how to get Dennis Prager, the penis dragger, to give her all the money because they're obsessed with blacks. In the end, with all seriousness, I decided to embrace another bear's wishful thinking, and that independent populace might emerge that we currently do not know about. Yeah, it doesn't matter. Let it go. Someone that is down to MAGA might be a closet bear and is completely gay for our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Thoughts on everything written with love again. Fuck Joe Rogan, Rage Bear. Yeah, it's more like you guys should become like sheriffs. Sheriff is where a lot of power in sheriffs. That's all LARP. Watching Canadian Spiral about Justin Trudeau is like, it's just worry about yourself. Worry about the lives you live, or the health problems, or are you living the life you want to live? Are you praying properly? Are you don't put your power in the hands of these psychopaths. Dude, fuck Justin Trudeau. We all know he's a psycho. Move on. Dude, this is the reality of life, like wind. Dear Big Bear, I'm a 30-year-old woman living in a small town outside of Gainesville, Florida. And yes, Florida is trash. My fiance and I can't wait to move away. I grew up with a boomer father and a mother who did whatever necessary to survive life with him. She, my younger brother, and I lived a life of anxiety, always walking around on eggshells, never knowing what to expect from my father when he walked in the door from work each night. Most of the time, it was irrational anger and violent temper tantrums. I escaped as soon as I could, literally the week I graduated from high school. I didn't want to attend college after high school, but was practically forced to by my parents. They'd always say, "You should strive for more in life than just being a mother and a wife. You, sir, must have a college degree in an uncommon field in order to succeed, and you should never depend on a man to provide for you." After I was shamed enough, I took the bait and I signed my life away in the form of student loans. But sitting in class day after day, also working 40 hours a week, left me exhausted and depressed. Right. That's the point of it. I was on and off an antidepressant. Let me guess, Teva Pharmaceuticals. When I fell for the lies of a young man who said all the right words, I quickly got pregnant and then did the right thing by getting married, knowing all along I wasn't supposed to be with him. It was heartbreaking. No, you did do the right thing by not... there's a much worse thing you could have done in that situation. Looking out the second story window just before our wedding began, seeing him waiting for me and feeling nothing but dread. I will spare you all the details, but just know that it was horrible, emotionally abusive marriage with plenty of drug use sprinkled in. My husband, the man I ran to hoping he'd save me from my father, turned out to be so much like him. I finally had the strength and courage to walk away 4 years ago on Thanksgiving. I had our 4-year-old son and 6-month-old daughter with me. Yeah, you did the right thing by not aborting your babies. So it can be a lot worse. Around the same time, my dad was caught cheating on my mom while disabled, over-medicated, and unable to work. He sat me down from the kitchen table and told me, in perfect boomer fashion, that my mom worked too much and wasn't giving him enough attention. So it's truly her fault he strayed. They're terrible. Ugh. It's like, you need a job. Why are you just a mother and a wife? Oh, you're at work too much, so I fucked our neighbors. God, I hate these people. No, I'm not going to use the word hate. I got to watch myself. But they're so disgusting. All right. He then proceeded to tell me that although she's a heartless bitch for divorcing him, he feels a clean break from his miserable life is a good thing. So he explained how his plan to divorce me and my brother in the process so he can start fresh. He expected me to apologize for his behavior and grovel at his feet until he said I was worthy of his love, just as I'd done my whole life. Boy, did I surprise him when I essentially gave him the middle finger and said, I accept your divorce. I've never been more proud of myself. That day was the turning point for me. It was the first ray of sunshine I could remember in years. I found God again, and he shined a light on some of the darkest days. When I felt I'd never survived the hell I was walking through, I turned the praise and worship music up louder. I found my inner strength, and I'm stronger than I ever imagined possible. Yes. I was rocking the single mom life. I finished my degree, was moving up quickly at work, and had 2 amazing children to love on every night. Yet I always felt like something was missing, even though I had the degree and the career that my parents said would make for a happy life. It wasn't satisfying. I wanted a partner in life, and I wanted to be someone's helper. I wanted logos, though I'd never heard of that concept at the time. Although both my parents and my own marriage went down in flames, I never lost hope that marriage could work with the right person by my side. In walked my fiance, Kyle. When we first started dating, he introduced me to your YouTube channel. He seemed reluctant at first, unsure of how I would respond to your not-so-mainstream opinions, but I was hooked from the first stream I watched. We would then watch your nightly streams in early 2019 together, him in his apartment and me at my house. We text each other back and forth the whole time, our thoughts on your chosen topics. Your streams were conversation starters for us and helped us talk about the deeper subjects early on in our relationship. Yeah, it's like, what do you think about Einstein marrying his cousin? That's hysterical. I truly never could have imagined that men like Kyle existed. This man would paint my toenails with such attention and detail that he's the sharpest shooter I've ever seen in person. He's sensitive but strong, self-assured yet humble, and the most importantly, he lives in truth. He's unlike any other man that I've ever met. I think what drew me to him was his raw masculinity, his ball strength, as you say. We're listening to one of your streams together that talked about dumping porn. I threw away my 50 Shades of Grey that night, right in front of him. More than throwing away the trash, I showed him I respect him and I will follow his lead. Now we're learning to homestead together as we plan our wedding for December. We planted a fall garden over the weekend while my 2 kids, that he now calls his own, were playing in the yard with the children we've raised. I sat in the driveway for a moment, soaking up the peace of heaven I was experiencing on earth and looking forward to the future together. After we're married, we plan to buy land in Tennessee and start our forever homestead. We want more and more kids to play in the yard and more animals. We too have been looking at classical conversations for homeschooling, logos, pure logos. You refocus us on the important aspects of life, building, creating, strengthening. Thank you, Owen, for your completely transparent and sharing your success and struggles. Your life inspires others and encourages us, knowing we can do the same. I have chickens and a trampoline. Look at my dark soil. I'm a happy wife. Can I please be verified as Sugar Bear? Welcome, Sugar Bear. That's what my fiance has called me from the beginning. He also would like to be verified as Boost Bear. Welcome, Boost Bear. That was a touchingly beautiful letter, and it makes me very, very happy to know that I can help in any way. Owen is responsible for more matches than eHarmony. That's hilarious. We're an awesome letter. Make more babies. Exactly. I'm rooting for you, and I know everyone is. All right, so I'm landing the plane. Join unauthorized.tv. It's Hand Drawn Bear just made this. We have a new conversation with me and E. Michael Jones. Check that out. P.O. Box 727, Gig Harbor, Washington, 98335. Unbearablesmerchandise.com. Ryan just put up a new shirt if you want to check that out. But definitely hit the Rogan's Up button, which is a thumb, because that piece of shit little shill Joe Rogan does look like a human thumb, and he's a sodomite and he's a liar. How's that for flipping the table on shame? You want me to run my tweets past you, Joe Rogan? You look like a fucking thumb, and you're a liar and you're a sodomite. So how about as I got kicked off Twitter, such a pussy. And again, thanks for, there's like 4,000 people here the whole time, and ladles of gravy was being dipped on biscuits. And it's like, it's fine if you don't agree with me, but just stop with the shame and the mockery. It's like, this is what I see, and this is a big lie. And that's it. I'm going to go back to normal streams tomorrow, and thanks for listening. Again, share it, hit the subscribe button, and this will help you with anxiety, depression, fear, all that stuff. There's nothing to be scared of. There's no fear. Fear is from the enemy. Fear is from the enemy. Never forget that. Never forget that. We all have little twinges of fear. You're commanded to not be scared and to move forward and to shame the devil. Don't let the devil shame you. You shame them. You shame the devil. Have children. Grow food. Speak truth. Fuck the devil. He's a little fucking gamma male bitch. Little envious bitch. He is. It's a fact. All right, much love. Be fruitful and multiply. Don't be fruity and boil guy. Much love.